Quick disclaimer. By the time this goes to press, we could very likely be in a holiday-induced food coma.
We better hurry this along so we can start the meal prep then.
The holiday season is upon us, and we're bringing the cheer with this one.
Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now sit back and relax as we start On the Shelf, episode 10. Double digits.
I know, right? Who thought we'd get this far?
We are super grateful for everyone who listens to the podcast, and we hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Beginning with this episode, we're going to try a little something different.
We will be releasing what we are calling the Bitcast. We'll chop up the podcast into smaller chunks for easier consumption on YouTube.
But don't worry, standard podcast will still remain. You can still listen to it in whatever format you do today. Coming up in the next month or two, probably a couple months, you'll actually be able to find an interview that we did with JP Switchmania for Switch Player Magazine.
They were so courteous. They were so kind to kind of reciprocate the favor after we brought Paul onto the show and then subsequently had JP on. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I don't know so much that I
had a blast with.
I don't know that I would necessarily call that a favor to them, because it was kind of a favor to us that they showed up.
More of a favor to us, yeah. More of a favor to us.
So they're just. What
are you talking about? We're huge. We're massive in this industry.
So we do have that coming along, which is great for us. Hopefully, a lot of our listeners probably support Switch Player Magazine. Which if you don't, you need to go check that out. You can support them on Patreon, and I think it's like $5 a month. You get a physical copy. $9. Well, yeah, you got to give for, I guess, you got to give for the shipping and stuff is going to take place. They do come over from the UK.
Yeah, and in fact, a little while back, I had started supporting, and I got finally, because the shipping takes forever. I got my first copy in the mail not too long ago. It's technically the November issue, but really I paid for it at the very beginning of October, because I had started supporting them in September, signed up for it, and then eventually we got hit with the charge in October. So I got this thing in the mail, and it's great. The cover is this one's the Mega Man one, Mega Man with all the little enemies from Mega Man 11. It's fantastic artwork, which, by the way, is like one of my favorite things so far about the magazine is they do these great cover art pieces. The only thing I would say, and it's not necessarily a negative, it's just surprising, it's like shocking, the width and height of the magazine, like the footprint of the magazine is surprisingly small. I can't even describe like how shocking that was when I got it. It's a little bit taller than a Switch case by like maybe an inch or two. And then width-wise, it's maybe like 1.5 Switch cases wide. It's shockingly small for what it is. But they sure pack a lot into it for being that tiny.
Yeah. And if Paul's listening to this, and I certainly hope that you are, Paul, I will be subscribing to it. I just haven't yet. I have to cut other vices out to be able to afford new vices. So you're at the top of the list. I got to get to it first.
Yeah, he hasn't quit vaping yet.
No, man. I can blow some fat clouds, man.
Fat clouds.
All right, so moving along, we also have...
Well, wait a minute here. I got one other thing to mention on that, on the Switch Player Magazine piece.
Did you cut me short, man?
Yes, I did. I'm going to jump right back in on this and also mention that SwitchCore has a small write-up here that we are also a part of, since we were inaugural members of SwitchCore. And that's going to be in one of the issues coming up as well, maybe the one right before our interview. All right, you may proceed, sir.
I may proceed. Maybe you want to be the one who takes us into the next one, since you have.
I might want to be.
You've been burning the midnight oil for
me and these guys are getting cozy. So Special Reserve Games, the folks that have recently brought you the Ammonomicon and the PlayStation 4 Enter the Gungeon physical release, are going to be entering into the Switch arena quite soon. They have announced off their website just a hair ago. We got Minute, Downwell, and The Messenger coming in 2019. They have confirmed those 3 particular games. Looking forward to it.
No, I'm looking forward to all of those, but oh man, The Messenger! I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically Ninja Gaiden, right?
Yeah.
So I've gotten to know these folks quite a bit recently. They actually reached out to me for a little help on their Discord, and as a part of that, I got really into checking out this Ammonomicon, and it's 224 beautiful pages of artwork, and it talks about like the various enemies, the synergies, the guns. Of course, it's Enter the Gungeon, so you're going to have lots of guns. But they were kind of planning on this launch for like the last year of that. Unfortunately for us Switch folk, that Ammonomicon is not going to be made available in a bundle with the Switch game when they get around to that. So if you are interested in getting it, you hopefully have already purchased it, and if not, they might still have some of the bundle with the game available by the time this airs. I doubt they will have any of the standalone Ammonomicons. They were down to a very low amount of stock last I looked last night. So more than likely that'll be gone. Now, both of those come with a slipcover, which holds a game and the book, which looks really cool. And just here's a little tidbit. The Switch case is pretty much the exact same height as a PS4 case. It's just not as wide. So you can still fit it into the slip case if you so desire. And I've even kind of talked to them about, hey, when you get to the Switch, maybe throw in like a piece of foam or something that's the right size to make it fit in that slipcover. And they're talking about that. So anyways, I'm really looking forward to what Special Reserve can bring to the Switch, considering their significant relationship with Devolver Digital.
The only other thing that I can think of that we don't have listed in our notes here is, I think, didn't Strictly Limited come out and announce their first game?
Actually, it's 2 games. They've Strictly Limited kind of came out recently with 2 announcements. One of them it wasn't even them that broke it. It was the developer of the game, Xenocrisis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is going to be released later on by Strictly Limited, but we are in the midst of the release of Fox and Forest.
Yeah, the special edition came out today, and the standard edition goes on sale next week.
Yeah, so
at the time of this
looking
recording.
forward to picking that up. Yeah, this will be interesting. We're seeing it kind of brings up the topic of another group of these small print publishers coming out. We got Strictly Limited, Special Reserve, and also Red Art, I think, announced that they're going to be coming out with some stuff.
And VBlank's been teasing Hawaii Shakedown on the Vita on their Twitter, so they're getting close to coming out with that, and everybody's anticipating that's going to get a physical release at some point as well.
Probably. And of course, with VBlank, you got to buy it directly from them, unless you're just going to wait a little bit and it suddenly shows up to piss you off on Amazon with a discount.
Yeah.
Which it did the last time with Retro City Rampage.
Fulfilled by Amazon, sold by VBlank,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like we knew that was going to happen. So
I think now at least people will have more warning.
Yeah. Now people are going to half expect it. Maybe they'll even announce that they're going to do that. There's also no telling, depending on how many they print. If they learn their lesson from Retro City Rampage, they'll probably print more of Hawaii Shakedown.
Maybe.
Or Shakedown Hawaii.
Let's talk Detective Pikachu for a moment.
The trailer dropped earlier this week, and you haven't told me what you thought about it, but I am apprehensively optimistic about it. Like, I don't know.
That's one opinion.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of feel like I know where you're going to go with it. Of course, you could surprise me, but you're not a big Pokemon fan. So I am, and like it's not. It doesn't look like it's trying too hard, but when it comes to the subject matter and the acting, but there's a lot of stuffing in there. Like they're just trying to show off, and they like the guy who did the real life Pokemon art. Like he's a part of this project, so the Pokemon look really good. There's just so much of it they're trying to like push through. I don't know how I'm gonna. I mean, obviously they can't show every Pokemon because there's way too many of them, but I don't know how I'm going to.
I was gonna say, what are they up to now? About 17,000 Pokemon now.
Yeah. So I don't know how I'm gonna take that in. But from what I saw, I mean, they look really good. The ones I saw look really good, and the premise of it is okay. I'm a little bit in the air about how much I like Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. I mean, I love Ryan Reynolds in just about everything, but it's just really weird to hear Pikachu have a voice, and it's even weirder that voice is Deadpool.
Well, I guess I'm of split minds here for this, because the first thing is that you're absolutely right. I'm not a Pokemon fan. It's not something I get into. And so when I'm sitting here watching this trailer, in my mind, there's so much going on. Okay, so not being a fan, not recognizing like 98% of the Pokemon that are on the screen just because I don't play it. I have some weird thoughts about it, I guess, or weird opinions. I see this as, I understand what they're going for every time you see one of these monsters, because I'm imagining in my head, like if I knew what they were and I'm watching the trailer, or if I'm watching the movie, if I was a fan, the back of my head, I'd be going, ooh, there's whatever that is. Ooh, there's whatever that is. Oh, look, there's one of those. And, so I kind of get that out of it. I see that, and there's staples. Like I obviously know what like a Charizard or Pikachu or Bulbasaur or Squirtle are, but you ruined
my joke. I was about to interject and be like, the yellow one is a Pikachu.
Yeah, no shit, no shit. But I mean, kind of the point of that is that I get where they're going with that, and I see that, and I knew going into it that if you're going to do like a full-blown box office, blockbuster style Pokemon movie, that's going to happen, especially live action. Mm-hmm. And then there's like the whole Ryan Reynolds piece of it. As much as I like Ryan Reynolds, anything that's going to have his voice is still going to be Ryan Reynolds. So you're literally just watching Ryan Reynolds as Pokemon. It's not like Bradley Cooper did with Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Where the moment Rocket speaks, you knew beforehand that it was supposed to be him, but then you listen, you're like, that doesn't sound like him at all. He did a great job masking his voice. This is not that. This is Ryan Reynolds. So as you're sitting here watching the little yellow thing speak, I just hear Ryan talking, and it's strange to me. That being said, if I take all that stuff out and I just watch the trailer for what it is, just like as if I didn't know Pokemon existed and this was some brand new movie, it wasn't a terrible trailer, to be honest. It looks like it could be entertaining.
And they had the like the original voice actress, I believe, that did the anime Pikachu voice, the Pika. But the funny thing is that like I was watching, somebody took clips of the trailer from all the different countries, and they all had different voices for the human voice. So Ryan Reynolds was obviously replaced in the other ones that use a different language, but the Pika was always the same, except for Germany. Germany replaced the Pika also.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I don't know, but I thought that was kind of funny.
It'll be interesting to see what that does in the box office.
The NES Classic Online app got an update. a few days ago, 4 days ago from the time of this recording, and we have 4 new games. So we had the 3 that we expected, which was Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack, and Twinbee, which are all... Yeah, I backed myself into a corner with that one.
I was wondering where you were going to go. They're all NES games,
but no. I mean, they're okay. Twinbee is better than I remembered it being. I actually kind of really enjoyed that. I haven't played Mighty Bomb Jack yet. I haven't even checked it out. I've seen videos of it. It's a platformer. You collect bombs though. It looks like it could be fun. It's going to have its own little subsection of fans, obviously.
It was better as an arcade game, to be honest.
Yeah. But it was also done by the same people who did Solomon's Key. So that's
right.
It has its own little following there. And then of course, Metroid's Metroid. So everybody loves Metroid. Well, if not everybody, but everybody should love Metroid. If you don't love Metroid, then please don't stop listening to the podcast. But we can't be friends. And
we're gonna have to exile you to Australia.
Yeah. Yep.
Basically,
the 4th game that came, the surprise, quote unquote surprise game, was Gradius or Gradius, however you want to pronounce it. SP. Gradius. We'll go with Gradius. Gradius sounds good. Yeah, we'll do Gradius. Gradius SP, which is the special.
No, it's
version.
not SP. It's SP.
Okay, Gradius.
Gradius.
Yeah. So the special version, basically, it's not as handholdy as the other SP was.
Zelda.
Yeah. I was getting to that, but yeah, it's not as handholdy as Zelda was.
The other one.
The other one, yeah, the other one that I'm not gonna tell you the name of.
Exactly,
because Zelda SP, you started out with all these different items. You started out with the Master Sword. You started out with 8 hearts instead of 3. Very handholdy, very get you going. Gradius starts you off with like a bunch of power ups. But if you die once, you respawn without them. So, yeah, take that for what you want. I think it may even jump you up. It might not even start you at level 1 either. Like, you might start at a later level, maybe. I don't know. I didn't really play it. I played it for all of like 10 seconds just to see what was special about it. And you start off with a bunch of the power-ups, and then if you die, you lose them all. And just respawn.
Gradius is a good game, but it's definitely NES hard,
Mm-hmm.
It has that feel to it. It's kind of easy to say the obvious game out of this is not a multiplayer game. It's Metroid.
Yeah, and that's going to be the common theme with these two, because the next set of games that's coming out, the best game that's going to be in that's been announced. I think there's going to be a Super Mario Bros. 3 SP. So that one's going to be technically multiplayer, and I'm doing finger quotes with that. But the standout game in the next batch is definitely going to be Ninja Gaiden, even if that one doesn't come with the set, the Super Mario Bros. Even the Super Mario Bros. Doesn't come with the set. The standout is going to be Ninja Gaiden with or without that. So, and that is, of course, single player.
Yeah. The Ninja Gaiden, as I like to say. Ninja Gaiden is.
I'm just covering our bases, between the.
I know we don't want to offend anybody. We say it in every way.
I could very well be in agreement with you. I'm just saying it the other way so that.
Well, maybe it's a soft G. Maybe it's Ninja Gaiden or Ninja Jaden. It could be.
It
like GIF, the pronunciation, the correct way to say it.
GIF. What are you talking about? Peanut butter? Because you're talking about the graphics interface.
No, I'm talking about the. Yes, I'm talking about that.
We're talking about GIFs. Oh, GIFs.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No. The one that the guy that created it called GIFs.
After he parked his car in the garage. Gotcha.
No. Next to the giraffe. So, just recently, Reggie was interviewed and made some comments on the Nintendo 64 Mini, or the Classic, as people may call it, depending upon which side of the pond you're on.
Or lack thereof.
I think a lot of people were looking at two options for the next potential version of these rehashed consoles, and one of them was the Nintendo 64, and the other one was the Game Boy. And I think you could go either direction with that, but I've sort of maintained that they probably wouldn't do that at all this season, simply because they just got the manufacturing under control for both of the previous ones and wanted to have those out pretty widely. But yeah, Reggie sort of kind of put the kibosh on the 64 as an option right now. Not saying altogether, not saying, hey, we're not going to do this, but just that's not in the cards right now. Yeah. They're not looking at that right now.
He said something like it's not impossible, but it's not in their current scope right now.
And that seems likely. It's okay. It's Nintendo. I'm certain they hear everybody saying that they would like this. I'm absolutely sure that that's the case. I'm sure they've heard it. I'm sure they've read it. I'm sure that they know. But Nintendo is not like a huge company, right? Nintendo is a smaller company, and they don't have the quite the ability that somebody like Microsoft does to be able to spread themselves so thin. And with the Switch still sort of being in its infancy, we're just over a year and a half on the Switch. That's still pretty early in the game, as far as I'm concerned. They're probably concentrated mostly on that kind of thing.
I'm kind of lost with the idea that $1 billion company is a small company.
I'm not talking about dollars and cents necessarily.
You're talking about head count.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it takes people to put that stuff together, right? And
Nintendo is basically Sakurai, Miyamoto, and Reggie. So
it's three dudes in a garage.
It's three dudes in a garage. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
it's a $1 billion garage, but it's a garage.
But it's a garage nonetheless. No, well, think about what the size of Sony is and how large their PlayStation division probably is, and how many employees they probably have. Compare that to what Nintendo probably has. In any case, yeah, nothing really on the horizon necessarily.
Yeah, people were losing their mind over the whole patent thing anyway. Like, first we had the leak,
the controller patent.
Yeah, first they had the leak where they had the manuals for the bunch of different games, like 24 games, 64 games. People lost their mind over that, and then now they have the patent thing. That's people are getting pretty ravenous about that, putting the cart before the horse. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm not disappointed. I mean, there's a lot to be done otherwise in the gaming space. Speaking of somebody I am disappointed with, PlayStation with their little classic, whatever they've decided to do there.
The hype train for that, like, it was so hype. Like it started off.
It left the station.
Yeah, it started off at the top of the mountain. The station was at the top of the mountain. And it just nosedove like so fast. It's really hard to be on board.
Nosedove?
It nosedove. It nosedived.
Nosedove.
Is it nosedived? I don't know.
I think it's nosedive, but
okay. It nosedove, dived, deep dive. It took a steaming dump on the track. Well, it
crashed and burned. The hype train.
It crashed and burned. Like, yeah, it hit a brick wall. For a lot of people, well, I wouldn't necessarily say it crashed, because there's still some people who are excited about it, and people are going to buy it for nostalgia reasons anyway.
And those people are wrong.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. But the thing is, like, I pre-ordered it the second I saw it was available. Like, I woke up one morning, saw that it was announced, saw that it was available, pre-ordered it, and I have now canceled my pre-order. So.
You're not the only person I've seen say that.
No, and there are many people in this industry much bigger than us who have said that too. So
yes, and I mean the list of issues with it just seems to grow. Initially, I was already just miffed by the fact that they didn't go with DualShock controllers. I know some people are like, well, it's not necessary for the games that they put on there. Yes, I realize that. Had you put those controllers in the system, some of the games that are included would play better, a la Tekken, The Tekken 3 would be much better with the analog stick. But on top of that, you'd be able to put some games in it that you didn't put in this initial one that they're doing.
Yeah,
and who knows, maybe we'll see this down the road. But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I can kind of understand the reasoning behind it, though, in that, one, obviously, it's a cost savings, obviously. But
it can't be saving that much money.
Well, I mean, you got to think the DualShocks had feedback. And then the two analog sticks, different molds, like more plastic. So when you add everything up, it's probably a decent chunk, especially with how many they were expecting to be pre-ordered. So
they're all.
So they're not. They're
already charging like $100. I think if somebody's going to buy it for $100, they'd probably buy it for $120.
Maybe, but I understand from that standpoint. But also, this is their quote classic console, and when the PlayStation first premiered, it didn't have DualShock. It's not an excuse. I just understand it. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm just saying I can understand it from that standpoint. Those two standpoints, I can understand it, because my first controller for the PlayStation was not DualShock. Of course, my first game wasn't Tekken 3, it was Tekken 2, which they didn't have DualShocks at the time. So
right. So essentially, what you're saying is Sony doesn't like money.
That's precisely what I know. It's not. No, they just don't want.
Could have done this. They just
don't want my money, is what it is.
Oh, okay, okay. So they could have done this. It might have cost them a little bit more, so they might have been able to charge a little bit more, and maybe put some other games on there that people would have enjoyed. But they just don't like money. But it's not okay. That aside, hold on. That aside, it's not just that. It's also like the emulation controversy.
That was just the first stop. I mean, that was just the first stop.
Tip of the iceberg.
That's not when I canceled my thing. The 5 initial games didn't stop me. The regular controllers didn't stop me. The full list of 20 disappointed me, but that didn't stop me. What did stop me is what you just mentioned, which is the emulation. That's what stopped me.
Tell them why.
It's an open source emulator, and it's going to be a variation of an open source emulator. So the thing is, having the open source emulator, that's great, because that means that people are going to be able to, homebrew or hack it, add games to it, make changes. That's good. That's great. But for $100, no DualShock controllers, and a lackluster list, like, I would expect them to put a little bit more into it than a run-of-the-mill PCB running an open source emulator I can just download. I'm paying you $100 for molded plastic and 2 USB controllers at this point.
Right. So please continue to load my cannon for me so that I can fire it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're headed the direction that I wanted to go anyways with it, and it ties it back to my original point. The best thing about the NES and SNES Classic, I will maintain this, the best thing about those two systems is the controllers. Nintendo gets it right. They replicate their controllers nearly 100% perfectly. The feel, the plastic, the feedback, everything about it, even though the inside is not molded exactly the same, and even though the weight is just slightly off, it's so close, it's so authentic that when you're playing, it feels extremely good. It feels extremely authentic. And so that's why I go back to the controllers and say, okay, if at the very least, if I'm going to have something going on with the emulation, I'm using an open source one, okay, whatever. To me, that's not as important. I know it's important to what you're saying, but it's not really that important to me, because if I had a controller that was perfect and felt right and emulated the initial experience the same, that would make up for that, the idea of it being an open source emulator, because you're paying more for the hardware and the rights to have the games than you are for the emulation programming itself in this particular case. So, and I'm not trying to take the wind out of your sails on your argument, because you're right in your own way of doing this. I mean, you're putting your version of logic on that, which is perfectly fine. But for me, it just reinforces my point of, okay, you got to have controllers that are great and perfect. And to me, the originals are not great and not perfect. And the addition of analog made them great and made them perfect.
I
rest my case.
Yes. See what you're saying. That it's. I mean, we come to the same conclusion, just from different angles, so it's fun.
But that's not even all of the problems. There's also this idea of what they've done with the interface.
Yeah, the interface is.
I don't know if you look at the video.
It's very lackluster. There's no like background music, and it's just like a spinning dial for the games. It's not. There's nothing. There's no borders. It's just very lackluster.
It's barren. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, Nintendo went 9 yards, right? They give you everything. They give you options. They give you cool retro music. They give you background that, the menu looks like it's all retro and stylized like the system. And you've got all the little bells and whistles on it, right?
Yeah. It's basically its own little standalone operating system.
Right.
I mean, it's a really nice looking ROM loader, essentially.
Yeah. They coded a beautiful little front end to go with everything else that they're giving you. And Sony's like, phoning it in over here. Like, okay, just, throw a couple of graphics on the screen and load the game, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a money grab.
It is. Well, and then another point that we didn't make that kind of points to that direction as well is the fact that it doesn't come with an adapter for the wall plug.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I completely forgot about that. And I can understand in some areas where that might be applicable. Nintendo didn't do that with the Famicom or Super Famicom minis over in Japan. But the reason for that is everybody there has extra chargers.
Yeah, and even if you didn't, they had the option of buying one separately.
Yep, had a little tiny box with the charger that matched.
I haven't seen anything, and I could be wrong, but I haven't seen anything that shows that Sony's even offering one.
Nope, not at all.
So
doesn't come with it.
That's
it's a silly thing to me. It just feels like a money grab. You mean for $100 you couldn't throw in that $2 charger? Yeah, or that $2 plug.
Where'd that DualShock money go? Where'd that go to?
Well, obviously, but yeah, that entire thing just sort of, I don't know. It feels funny to me when I look at this because, like on the surface, when they announced it, you're thinking, oh, this will be great. I'll get some of my favorites and I can relive that whole, PSX experience, right? That just, I can kind of live that again, which is the feeling that you got when Nintendo announced theirs. You're like, oh, wow, this is cool. Yeah, I mean, they're older games and they don't quite have the looks of new stuff, but they're fun to play. And, you got this nostalgia feeling. Super heavy. That's what these are. They're super heavy nostalgia boxes. I'm just not getting that same feeling out of what Sony's doing here because I think they've kind of just messed this whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean,
they need to hire us, and we'll just redesign the whole thing.
Yeah, and for $100 as well, it needs to be like, I understand it's an open source emulator, but there needs to be some sort of updatability. Like the Commodore 64 Classic that's out, if you want to call it that, has a firmware update that lets you load games onto a USB stick, and that's from the people who made it. Like, that's not even like a backdoor hack. The people who made it are offering you expandability options.
Yeah, you'd think that with Sony that they would take advantage of that little spot at the back corner of the device. Let that be a little opening tab again where you could open that up, and instead of being able to plug in the little parallel devices that the original did, just like an SD card or something could go in there with the firmware update or whatever. There's some options here that I just think they've missed. Sony with a swing and the miss.
The Video Game Awards are coming up.
Big news. Annual event. The nomination list is here, and what I did is I'm going to run right off of the Game Awards nominees list from the bottom of the page. Because if we're talking about these, and I don't know why they did this either, at the very top of their page they list Game of the Year, and you don't want to start off an awards show with that. You want to start off at the bottom, at the small stuff, the
supporting actors, the soundtracks.
Yeah, the grip, the key grip awards and the best man awards. When I'm looking at that list at the very bottom, the first thing up is the content creator of the year. So this is kind of like our area, right? If we were about 30,000 times bigger than what we are in Twitter, and
if we played a metric ton of Fortnite.
Yeah, that's
like I'm looking at this list of people that are the creators. There's one on there I've never heard of, and the rest of them I know mainly because of their Fortnite play.
Well, and to be honest, here, let me read the list, and then we'll get into that, because the list of content creators up for this are Dr. Lupo, Myth, Ninja, Pokimane, and Willy Rex.
Yeah, I've never heard of
Willy
Willy
Rex. So which was the one that you don't? Yeah, Willy Rex. Okay,
no,
that's
never heard of him.
This is a clear winner for me, but you go ahead.
Oh no, okay. Is it a clear winner that you would vote for, or is it a clear winner as in who's going to win?
Oh, for me, it's clear winner as in the person who has gotten by far the most press, the most news, the most visibility this
so
year.
So you're leaning towards Ninja, but the thing is,
yes, I am leaning towards.
The
Ninja.
thing is, like Ninja has been very much on top of things and mostly in the press and stuff, but he's not falling, but he's kind of on a backslide at the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on that he is. He's starting to rub people the wrong way, and if the votes get tallied, based on that, and like there's no there's no give in the way they're tallying the votes, then he may very well not be the content creator that wins this. Honestly,
no, you're probably right in that sense. I mean, I've seen some of the negative press recently, and look, he's made a lot of strides from his early career.
His Halo
the
days,
things that, yeah. And some of that stuff is going to come back to bite him a little bit. But hey, people grow. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the recent thing was that he's doing a lot of the threatening to get people banned in Fortnite. Like he's throwing clout around, and it's kind of rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. So
sure,
there's that. But you may very well be right, because he is pretty much like a household name when it comes to this stuff. I can tell you who I think. Okay, so he will probably win. I tell you who I think stands a chance of beating him, and that is Myth.
No, I knew you were going to go there.
But the person I would vote for is Lupo.
Why is that?
Because Lupo, man. Okay, so Lupo, he's a little bit older. He has a family, and he's very relatable for me, but. Recently, he streams a lot with Ninja, so he's a Fortnite player with Ninja. Right. He does a lot of casting for Fortnite. He does his own thing too. So he's not just like living in Ninja's shadow. He's doing his own thing. But recently at TwitchCon, they had a roast of Tim the Tatman, and they were all okay. But Lupo got on stage and just lit the place on fire. It was crazy how good he was at a roast. So Lupo has won my love and affection for that, for sure. But he's just really relatable for me, and he's really good at his craft. And he works well with other people, but he has his own thing going. Like I feel like he really, really puts in the effort and really deserves it.
Well, I think regardless of where any of these folks have stood at some point in time with their growth or whatnot, just to be nominated for something like this is a huge honor, especially when you're a content creator, and rather than being a video, not as if video games aren't content. That's not really where I'm going with this, but a content creator, a person, let's face it, a person on Twitch or YouTube or something similar to that, it's very different than being a video game creator. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like a really big, this is one of the few very big deals for that type of recognition by others. So
I'm kind of,
it's cool for all of them.
Aside from the fact that I don't know who Willy Rex is, I'm kind of confused about why Pokimane is in the list. Like she's a member of Offline TV, and to me, she's not even the most entertaining in offline TV. But I mean, she does good content. I don't really watch a whole lot of it, but I don't know. Like there are so many other people that I feel like could be here in place of her and Willy Rex. Just because I don't know who he is,
you say that, and that's absolutely true. But that's just it. There are how many content
there's tens of thousands of people who could make it to this list. But what I'm saying is Willie Rex, I don't know who that is, so I'm just gonna write him right off. But and I'm sorry if anybody listening is a Willie Rex fan. I just don't know who the guy is. I've never watched him. Pokimane, like she's deserving of recognition, but if you're going to take those tens of thousands of people who are content creators that deserve to be on this list and you put her in the top 6, I don't understand it. I don't know why. Like she is definitely a really talented content creator. Top 6 out of the tens of thousands of available content creators, not to me, not top 5. So I don't know. Like maybe if it's like a top 10, top 20, I could fit her on my list, but not top 5 or top 6. And I'm not trying to be mean about it. She definitely does good content.
I mean, there's just a reality there, right? Yeah, I mean, there's just a reality there. But, in any case, congratulations to all of those particular nominees for making it to that list at all, just because the pool of potential people is so huge for something like this versus, say Game of the Year, where it's hard to come up with a handful of games that you would realistically say would be on that list versus this. So next one up is Best Esports Moment. And in this particular case, I'm almost thoroughly going to have to defer to you, but let me read the nominees here. E-League with the C9 comeback win in triple overtime versus FaZe. We got LOL Worlds with G2 beating RNG. We got LOL Worlds with KT versus IG base race. We got Dota 2 finals, OG's massive upset of LGD, and Evo's Sonic Fox side switch against Go1 in DBZ. So take it away.
Of all of those, I don't really know a whole lot about most of them. Sonic Fox's side switch is probably the one that I would vote for, just because that's my kind of game. Like I'm not a big fan of a lot of the esports stuff, and when it comes to these specific events, the only one that I really paid attention to would be Sonic Fox, because he's a really good fighting game player. So I really enjoy that stuff. So the Sonic Fox side switch, to me, it would probably be the one that I would vote for. But anytime FaZe loses anything, I'm all for it. So Cloud9's comeback against FaZe in Triple OT, I could vote for that as well. I'm just not a FaZe fan. Like, some of their members are really good. Some of their members just rub me the wrong way. Cough, cough, FaZe Banks, cough, cough. But anytime that they're famous for their trick shot videos, and they just happen to make a couple of good teams. I'm not a huge FaZe fan. I think their hype is overblown. So Cloud9 coming back in triple overtime against them is obviously, FaZe is good because they had to go to triple overtime to lose. But I would vote for that. But the Sonic Fox is the one that I'm probably going to throw my hat into, just because that's more my speed. It's DB Fighter Z.
Plus, it's out of Fox. I was gonna say it's out of Evo anyways, which is more up our alley for content. So all right, moving back up to the next one here. The next one is the Best Esports Host, and I'm just gonna straight up tell you, I don't care about this category whatsoever. Couldn't care less. Of the names that they have listed, I would go with Golden Boy. I really like Golden Boy. I like his story. I like his passion for things. Like when he was going over the idea that somebody with his upbringing is doing what they love. When he was a kid, he wanted to do this, and now that he's getting to do it, it's amazing to him. And he broke down into tears talking about how appreciative he was to have this opportunity and to see his name on television when it was being broadcast on cable. Like, it was just overwhelming for him. Like, I love that. I love that story. But I will also say that missing from this list is a couple names. People like from the Overwatch League. Golden Boy is involved in that a little bit, but people like Zoe, I feel like she should be on here. I like Cora Songbird from Hearthstone. To me, I guess for this type of thing, if I'm going to watch, I'm probably just going to mute it and watch without sound anyways. I'm more interested in what's happening on the screen than somebody's thoughts about what's happening on the screen.
You're definitely not alone in that. I just, I don't know. There's some announcers that I really like listening to. Some commentators I really like listening to. Some analysts I really like listening to. So I will listen to them, but there's plenty of them that I turn off or mute.
Well, and no, say this again the way that you said for the others. No offense to anybody that might be a fan of any of these. It's just not my cup of tea. Not something I would rather do. I'd rather just mute it, watch it while I'm doing something else, and just have it running in the background or something similar to that. So, but congratulations to everybody that's in that list. I'm sure that it's an honor just to be nominated. The next group the next nomination category is the best esports event, and out of that, we have E-League Major Boston 2018. We got EVO 2018, the LOL World Championships, Overwatch League Grand Finals, and the International 2018. I'm probably going to jump immediately to EVO just because fighting games and my love for that particular genre. Although I'd probably give Overwatch a close eyeball on that. Yeah. I frankly think that LOL is old and busted at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So we're kind of in agreement here that EVO is our immediate jump to, but we're kind of eyeing Overwatch. Let me see if I can sell you on Overwatch. Okay, go ahead. Because the Overwatch League is doing something that's really never been done before. They are franchising cities like the National Football League does, where each city has a team and they have their team colors or team logos, and they do a season of matches. And you have like different divisions and stuff that rivalries that are coming out of this. And they're not separating divisions as of yet, but that's probably coming because they've just signed like a whole bunch more teams. And they did a playoff style and then ended in what is essentially a Super Bowl type grand final.
Right.
That is leaps and bounds towards legitimizing esports. Like, esports had a big foothold beforehand, but Overwatch League is showing you, hey, we can do esports almost the same way you do regular sports. And
that's a great idea. I love the idea behind all of that. I think they're probably a year or two away from that being fully mature. But honestly, it's right there. It's on the cusp. Now, they might even take this particular year's award just because Overwatch is really, the new hotness. Mm-hmm. But kind of in general, I still think it's maybe just a smidge early for them. But, who knows? The thing about this is this particular award is going to go to what fan base can muster enough participation in the voting.
This is essentially the same as the first one we talked about, where we don't where we want a particular one to win and we think one deserves to win, but it's basically going to come down to like the ninja of sporting events, like which one has the bigger fan base voting. And honestly, it's probably going to be League of Legends or the Invitational.
Yeah, you're probably right, except for the fact that League of Legends should be done by now. It's overstayed its welcome in the spotlight anyways. I mean, by all means, play the game if you want the game. Although I find it to be both it and Dota to be pretty much procedural at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't even join a match of any kind on those without literally following a script. Whereas you take something like Overwatch or EVO, it's a little bit more dynamic. I'll say that's probably the best word I can give it. Those things, those genres, those types of games, fighting games and team shooting, that type of stuff. It tends to be a little bit more chaotic, and especially Overwatch, where you have the best intentions, but no matter what you do, there will be things to spoil it. Same thing for fighting games. You go into a match with the best intentions, and you can be as technical as possible, and you can try to stick to a script, but you better be prepared to be dynamic. Whereas with, MOBAs are not like that at all. MOBAs are pretty much, to the book every time.
And then, of course, we're not really talking too much about E-League. That's a Counter-Strike global offensive major.
It's been around,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's by no means small or insignificant. It's 23 teams, so it's...
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's just, I don't know. I find that to be rather pedestrian.
Shallow and pedantic. No, it's just like it's just kind of like it's just always there. I guess like it's
regular.
Yeah, it's regular. It's just kind of accepted as being just. It is the dad of the e-league scene, of the esports scene.
I mean, it's always there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. So the next category is it's sort of interesting. It's the esports coaches.
I've got nothing on this. I don't really follow any of the coaches. The only time I ever follow coaches is when a coach steps out of line and like makes some sort of stupid move or makes some sort of stupid accusation or says something stupid on Twitter or an interview, which happens not a whole lot. Like I think this year that my Overwatch team that I support, which is the Dallas Fuel, I think they had a coach that was stepping out of line a little bit, and he ended up getting let go. So, but yeah, I
kind of don't want to. I don't even want to talk about the individuals.
Yeah.
So much as just the concept of an esports coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's something to that kind of makes me chuckle, right? It's interesting, the idea of this. It plays better to the idea is more realistic than the implementation, in my opinion. I don't know what I would get out of having an esports coach necessarily if I was on an esports team. I am the one participating in doing, and this isn't football or where like people
I think
are
it has to
playing
do with measuring
the same types of positions.
It has to do with measuring strengths though, because like the coach is going to watch the game and see how players react to different situations, and you may play a game where you are proficient at two different spots in the game. You prefer one, but the coach sees that your talents would be better used at the other. So, you're not going to make your own choice in this position. The coach is going to tell you, here's why you need to play this way. And it may contradict with what you want to do, but it may be the better play. That's what the coach is there for. The coach is like the all-seeing eye.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept to me. I'll say that for sure. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that Danny Zonic Sorensen is wearing two headsets.
Yeah,
in his photo.
I see that.
Two headsets.
I see that.
He's playing two games. He's on the whole nother level. He's playing two games at once.
Yeah. The only in this entire list, there's only two that I recognize, and that is Dylan Falco for Fnatic and Reapered for Cloud9, and I don't know enough about them to even call this one. So,
well, next one up is best esports team, which makes sense. We've talked about the coach. Now it's time to talk about the team. You got, the couple of different. You just named off two that are on this list as far as the teams. You got Cloud9 and Fnatic for LoL. Is what it is. You got Astralis, I can't even say that right. Astralis for CSGO, Astralis, whatever. London Spitfire for OWL, and you got OG for Dota 2. Not really a fan of any of these in particular.
Yeah.
Don't know if you are.
No, like I said, Dallas Fuel is the only esports team I really support. I mean, when it comes to something like Hearthstone, I might root for like Tempo Storm, but I'm not. None of these none of these work for me.
So we'll give it to Fnatic and move on. No.
Fnatic, the League of Legends Fnatic, not Counter-Strike. So
no.
I mean, because you got to think mostly, with the exception of the London Spitfire, the rest of these have teams.
Yeah, they're fielding teams for
different
games.
Yeah. So I mean, technically the Spitfire probably do too, because before the Overwatch League started, they were all like the other teams, and they're considered like the challenger type teams. So there is a team that was the London Spitfire used to be, that they're now the London Spitfire. So there is a little bit of a tie back to that, but not.
Oh,
not
the other thing that cracks me up, I just want to if you look at the pictures, with the exception of the first one, the rest of these look like the least intimidating gangs ever. And they basically try to make all of these folks pose in these team shots, and they're every single one of them except the top one. It's one guy in the middle, the next two right behind him, then fanned out a little bit, and then the next two right, like that triangle formation. So the category that's next is actually a sponsored category, the Best Esports Player presented by Omen by HP. So that's kind of funny. A sponsored category. You got Sonic Fox right at the top of the list here. You got Tokido or Tokaido. I don't know if how he says that.
Tokaido.
I think it's Tokaido. Yeah. Uzi, Simple, and
J Janak.
I don't even know if is it J Janak or JJ Onak. No, it's J Janak.
It's J Janak.
It's probably J Janak.
So I'm a big Sonic Fox fan. Like I just like watching him play. But I'm gonna have to go with Tokaido on this one, just because he is OG as hell. He also plays for Echo Fox, which is or he did. I don't know if he still does. I haven't paid attention, but. He's also responsible for knocking Darkside Phil out of Evo back in the days. So I'm a huge fan of that.
He's probably a good pick. Anyways, and he's still wearing the Echo Fox jersey in the picture. So yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. There is in any of these categories for any of these guys, there's not a chance in hell that you or I could possibly beat them in any of these games. So
no, probably not. Least of all playing Takido in Street Fighter. There's no, or
like we would just get annihilated.
Yeah, I watched Sonic Fox played some Blaze Strangers, and like the only way his opponents beat him were chaining 100% combos.
Yeah,
that's the only time I saw him
ridiculous. Now we start to get into some of the really good stuff here. We actually start talking more about games themselves. We've got the best esports game. I'm going to go through the list of nominees here. We got CSGO, huge surprise. Dota 2, oh wait, another huge surprise. Fortnite,
which shouldn't be on this list.
Right. League of Legends, also a huge surprise. And Overwatch, who I am going to give my vote to for something like this. My vote would definitely go to Overwatch. Yeah. I don't know who you would pick, but...
No, I completely agree. Overwatch is...
But that begs the question, who's going to win? Probably Fortnite. As much as it pains me to say.
I mean, I'd say it's going to be... I don't know. League of Legends may...
You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, it's because of the player base, but it's not an esports game. Like, I know they're doing... They're doing competitive streams of it and stuff, but... It's just not a competitive... It is a competitive game. It's not an esports game.
Yeah.
Like, it's very hard to esports a battle royale, and I think the best one to do it right now is going to be Call of Duty Blackout, but Fortnite is just not there. Like, it's not there.
It's not made for it.
No.
It's not really made for it. Overwatch is pretty close to being made for it. I just love it. I would love to see it topple something like League of Legends, you know?
Yeah.
That would be great. Next one up is
this one.
Oh, this category.
This is a good category.
This category is best debut indie game, and so I'm going to read the description under this because it's important. Recognizing a new independent studio that released its first game in 2018, and the winner is selected by fan voting.
All right, so the best debut indie games. I love that this category is in here. I think indie games need a lot more love, especially new studios. I think that they need a spotlight on them. A lot of them really deserve it because some of their games are amazing, and I really hate the idea of a new indie studio releasing a top-tier game and just getting no love to the point where they don't develop another one.
Yeah.
Like, that would just be horrible.
And
so
this
is a great category.
Running down the entries in this, and then we can kind of pick, because there's two in this that we're probably going to expand on a little bit. But
yeah, most definitely. Yeah. I know which ones they are, but we'll go ahead and list
So Donut County by Ben Esposito and Annapurna Interactive. Florence by Mountains. Moss by Polyarch Games. The Messenger by Sabotage Studio. And Yoku's Island Express by Villa Gorilla. Hell of a list.
It is, and the two that we're going to discuss have some major backing to them. Also, like they are independent studios that develop these really great games, but they they got some help from, like, they were so good, they got some help from other studios.
Well, I'm going to go from bottom up here because Yoku's Island Express has already been on this show. We've talked about this.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is that's one of them. They got some help because Villa Gorilla developed it, but Team 17 published it for them, and that's a big get because Team 17 is not. I mean, they're a small company, but that's not a small name.
No, it's really not. Although they started off small, you know. Their roots are in this indie gaming, you know, first release kind of idea. They started off with Worms basically. So I mean that's a hell of a root to plant. And I'll tell you right now, I think both of us agree, Yoku's Island Express was amazing. What a hell of a game.
I mean, in like all pinball type games, it was frustrating at times, but it was never frustrating enough to walk away from.
And not even frustrating in a bad way necessarily.
Yeah, it was a lot of, oh, come on,
yeah,
I hit that, or oh, come on, I hit that ball just right. It should have gone that way. Yeah, it was. There was a couple times where I was like, am I stuck here? Am I just going to infinitely loop through here for the rest of my life?
But the concept of like blending the Metroidvania with the pinball and then the execution of that, because the concept alone is like, oh, that's interesting, that could be something, and they pulled it off. They made it work. Definitely a highlight.
I played all the way through Yoku's. I thought it was really good.
You want to talk about the next one up? The
Messenger. Sabotage Studio. I'm super excited about this game getting a physical. I am super excited to play this game forever. I don't really have, and like I said, it's another one that got some help from a not huge but not unknown, in that they have Devolver.
Right.
They have Devolver helping them out. So that's just
the
great.
Coolest thing, in my opinion, is the switch between the 8-bit, 16-bit look when you're playing. Man, that's the cool concept, the idea of doing that. Plus, everybody from back in the day anyways loved classic Ninja Gaiden. You go into that, and then now you have basically the spiritual successor of that gameplay style. So
yeah, this is the Messenger is to Ninja Gaiden what Axiom Verge was to Metroid.
Right. Yeah, that's a great way of putting that. And so I can't wait to hold that cartridge and pop that in the Switch and give that a run through when we get it on physical media. I don't know, boy, I got to tell you, I don't know who's going to win this category. That's for sure. Yeah, that's a tough one.
That is, I'm leaning towards Messenger myself, but
maybe
we have a lot of spiritual successors with the Switch.
Yeah,
I just realized, because we also have Bloodstained is kind of like the
spiritual
the
successor
one
of Castlevania. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
and that was great too. If not short, but still really enjoyable. But yeah, this particular category, can't even predict a winner. It's tough to say what's on here, but I have to give props to Yoku's, and I would hope that it wins, just because that was such an amazing game. For what it was, it surprised the living daylights out of me. And a lot of people in the Discord too have said the same thing. They picked it up because I said something, or you said something, or they saw something about it, and it's just gotten a ton of positive feedback.
Yeah, and just looking at the cover for it, you're just like, what am I getting myself into? What is this?
Right. Plus, you're playing as a dung beetle. Come on. Next one up is Best Student Game. This one's kind of interesting, the idea of this. It's awarding the best student project created at the high school or college level. And so I'll go through this list. We got Combat 2018 by Inland Norway University of Applied Sciences in Norway. Kind of cool. Dash Quasar, that came out of UC Santa Cruz. Jera, that's from DigiPen Bilbao, Spain. Lif by Isart Digital in France. And then so like regarding, but it's Recharge, which came out of MIT. Which is interesting. I've not actually played any of these. I've not seen any of these.
I haven't either. I kind of feel like these were just kind of submitted as like final for classes or something. I have heard of DigiPen, though not the one in Spain. I've heard of the one in Washington State.
Interesting.
And then of course MIT as well.
UC Santa Cruz is
UC Santa Cruz, but I haven't played any of these, though I'm not surprised that they look as good as they do, being, I don't want to say amateur, but being student level. I think
some of these look,
show some promise.
Some of these look amazing. Like Lif, the screenshot for Lif, that kind of screams like play me or check this out. I'll tell you that. The screenshot out of Combat 2018, does that remind you of a specific phone game? The art style for that, Crossy Road, kind of looks like Crossy Road. I don't know what you're talking about. But
no, I wouldn't know. I've never heard of that game.
Liar.
No, I really haven't.
You've not seen Crossy Road? Man,
I don't play a ton of mobile.
I don't either, but I played Crossy Road. You should play Crossy Road.
I've maybe one day. I mean, the only quote unquote mobile game I really play is Hearthstone. So, and that's not really technically a mobile game. It's just a game that's been made for mobile.
Well, good luck to everybody in that particular category. Student games. I'm sure they put a ton of heart and soul into that. And these are all, when you get to something like a student game, it's a passion project for them. So
yep, and just keep on doing what you're doing, and maybe we'll
see them go into the category before that, which was that debut indie game. Who knows? That'd be something. Mm-hmm. Next category up is Best Multiplayer Game. And this one, it's for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre. So you got COD, Black Ops 4, you got Destiny 2, you got Fortnite, Monster Hunter World, and Sea of Thieves. This is an interesting mix. Some of the old, some of the new kind of stuff,
Let's see, this one I'm okay with Fortnite being on.
Well, it is a multiplayer game, right? So
I wish that, in my opinion, a superior game of the same genre would have appeared, and that is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. But Fortnite I'm okay with them being on this one. Destiny, I am very let down with. Destiny 2. Yeah. Very let down by that.
Actually,
Call of Duty Black Ops.
I was going to say, I'm not even sure Fortnite is. I mean, they might be the favorite going in, but I don't know that it's a full-on lock, considering how well Black Ops 4 is done.
Yeah, I don't. Sea of Thieves burned out super fast,
very quickly.
And I love Rare. I wish it had gone better for them. I don't see that.
It wasn't really a
Monster
finished
Hunter
game,
World,
right? So I mean, it was kind of half
wasn't.
in the bag.
And Monster Hunter World is a phenomenal game. But the big draw to it is not its multiplayer.
And it doesn't have that size of audience either.
Right. But it is a phenomenal game. It definitely deserves some awards, just probably not a multiplayer award.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, this one is really going to be between Black Ops 4 and Fortnite. And in that instance, I'm definitely giving it to Black Ops. Because Black Ops 4 is all multiplayer, 100%. The entire game. Fortnite is too, but Fortnite is doing a like secondary game, right, or originally was going to be a secondary game. I don't know, but Black Ops 4 is you got zombies, you got your normal multiplayer search and destroy, team deathmatch, King of the Hill type stuff, and you've also got Blackout, which is their battle royale, which is doing phenomenally. So I give this one to Call of Duty for sure.
Which is it, if you kind of look at it this way. It's almost like Call of Duty has kind of come back from the dead, almost. That they were on that downhill spiral for the last few years. A lot of the CODs just haven't done that well, and then this comes out and kind of surprises people. I
almost bought it. Like I've been mulling it around. I've been mulling it around. I've got so many games to play on the Switch, but I've been mulling it around. Like I've been trying to talk myself into pulling the trigger on the PC version.
Yeah.
I just don't have any friends who are currently playing it. It's the only reason why I haven't yet.
Well, you could have just stopped after the word friends.
Yeah, I don't. You're right. I don't have any friends.
Like there's
whatsoever.
No games on the Switch.
There is no games
on the Switch,
except in this instance, I really just don't have any friends.
Next category up is Best Sports/Racing Game for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game. Let me go through this here. FIFA 19, Forza Horizon 4, Mario Tennis Aces, NBA 2K19, and Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. I have my thoughts.
I'm not feeling this. Of the ones listed, Forza is probably the one that I would lean most towards.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not giving this to Aces. Aces was not. No, it does not deserve to be on the list.
Aces was Aces big letdown. But it says non-traditional sports in the description. So my question is, where's Rocket League?
Yeah, and why is soccer on the list here and not that, right?
Yeah, why is soccer on here twice? Yeah, why is soccer on here twice, but not Rocket League?
Rocket League is a sports game. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So
it 100% is a sports game. Like it's I mean, it has its
soccer,
quirks.
man.
It takes racing and soccer into. Come on, So
yeah, disappointing that's not on here. But that being said, really, I'm definitely not giving it to Aces. Aces shouldn't even be on this list. So you might as well just erase that from here because that game was nowhere near as good as it could have been. Missed potential by a mile. Pro Evolution just gets beat out by FIFA by default, considering all the licensing is now with FIFA for everything. Might as well just take Pro Evolution off the list. That kind of leaves Forza, FIFA, and NBA. I haven't felt an NBA game as a winning type of game for something like this in a long time.
No.
I mean,
no.
Just hasn't. What's happened in that arena for years? Nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're left with FIFA and Forza. Forza's beautiful. I mean, FIFA's FIFA. FIFA's probably going to win, although I'd probably like Forza to take it.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. My vote is with Forza, but I feel confident to say that FIFA's going to win. Why two soccer games?
I don't know.
At the very least, they could take Pro Evolution off and put Madden in. At the very least, just to give you a little bit of a choice, because it's just not.
I don't know. I can't describe it. It's very weird. It'd be interesting to see if there's any sort of upset in that. All right, next category up is Best Strategy Game. This is the best game focused on real-time or turn-based strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. This one's got a couple of neat choices in here. The Banner Saga 3, Battletech, Frostpunk, Into the Breach, and Valkyria Chronicles 4. I want to kind of start off by saying I love what Banner Saga has done. Love the idea that we even got that on the Switch with the trilogy, although 3, the one that's nominated, you had to download, which is fine. 2 of the 3 games were on the cartridge. That's fine. The way that they use traditional cell animation for that game, beautiful, looks great. Go a little further down on the list, actually to the bottom of the list, is another game we did get on the Switch with VC4. And, tactic RPGs, tactic strategy games are fantastic in my opinion. Love the way those play out. I didn't put any time into VC4 because I've got a huge backlog of games to go through. So I'm pretty strategic right now about what I'm playing, trying to pick some shorter run games, especially with all the time I spent on Dead Cells. So I didn't pick up VC4. I did start it a little bit just to play it, make sure that it ran well and kind of check it out on the Switch. I like it, just not playing it. Interested in Into the Breach. I've watched a little bit of it. Haven't really played it. And I didn't play the other 2. As much as I love old school Battletech stuff, I didn't play it.
I have played none of these.
None? Not one? Not even a little bit?
None of them. No. I have played previous entries in the Banner Saga trilogy.
Did you play the earlier VC games?
No.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to have to get you into that at least a little bit just to check it out. But
VC4 is on sale right now, so I'll be picking it up soon.
Yeah, you should pop it in and just give it a run, try it a little bit and see what you think. You might surprise yourself on that. Who knows? If I had to choose, boy, I don't even know. It'd probably be Into the Breach or Battletech with its name. Could pretend. This is a tough category, to be honest. All of these look like they could be promising. I really don't know. That's a tough category to pick from. All of them look great. Let's move up here. Best family game.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and say that 3 of these shouldn't be on this list.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me read the stuff first. Best family game. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform, we got Mario Tennis Aces again, Nintendo Labo, Overcooked 2, Starlink, Battle for Atlas, and Super Mario Party.
So Mario Tennis Aces, I don't think should be on here, just because of how much of a letdown it was. I understand why that one's on there. That one I give like a pseudo pass. I don't agree with it. Labo's not a game. It is a like a workshop of toys that you put together and then you can play around with, but it's not like a game. The robot is kind of close to it, I guess, but it's not a game. And Labo's great. Like, don't get me wrong. Aces is bad. Labo is great. I don't, it's not a game to me. And Starlink Battle for Atlas is not a family game. Like, I guess maybe if you want to let your kids build the ships or something, but if you buy this digitally, like, how are you playing? You can play 2-player, but why?
It's not really, how are you playing with a family? Like, that's not what that is. At least with Overcooked 2, you can get like a 4-player game on if you want, because you can have a 2-on-2 match.
Yeah, Overcooked 2 is definitely
it fits.
Should be on there. And Mario Party, I'm giving a pass.
Well, I'd say you'd give it a pass because it says best family game as a category, but I think that Super Mario Party makes enemies.
Well, most multiplayer games.
Yeah, it's true. It's perfect for family.
So it's my personal opinion, Overcooked 2 is the standout in this list.
Yeah.
But I would say Mario Party or Labo is going to take it.
I don't know if Labo takes
Hopefully
this.
Between those two. Well, I mean, hopefully between those two, it's Labo. I see Mario Party winning it, but hopefully between the two, Labo takes it. I would like to see Overcooked win, though, just because that's the only one I feel like is really...
The most interesting thing to me about Super Mario Party this particular go-round is... They showed a little bit of promise in they were kind of coming back to what made the original Mario Party games so great, but they didn't quite take the bus the entire route. You know, they kind of got off halfway. Good try, but it didn't really get there. I think Overcooked 2 is the winner in this category from what I would like to see. I don't know what actually takes it, but that's my vote. Moving up, we're getting into something that we know a little bit more about. Best fighting game. This is for the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat. We got BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Dragon Ball Fighters, or Dragon Ball Fighter Z, depending upon how you want to say it, Soul Calibur 6, and Street Fighter V Arcade Edition.
Okay, I have two questions about this list. One, why is it only 4 choices when we had so many good fighters come out? And 2, why is Street Fighter V Arcade Edition on this list? It is old as dirt. It's a great game, sort of, but it's old as dirt. Like, it's not new. Soul Calibur just came out. Dragon Ball Fighter Z just came out. BlazBlue just came out. Why? Like, why is Street Fighter on here? Anyway,
I don't know why it's only 4. No, that's a legit question because most of the categories have 5.
We've had a ton. There's been a couple 6s. We've had a ton of good fighters come out. Like, I mean, Blade Strangers would be okay. Yeah. Like a lot of people haven't heard of. Might not have heard of it really because it's Nicholas, but Blade Strangers was a great fighter. I loved it. I mean, There was the other one that was SNK Heroines came out, which, you know, give or take, you know, you can take or leave that one. It's up to you. But I mean, that's a fighter that came out. Obviously Smash isn't out yet, but if they're going to put Street Fighter V on there, you might as well put Smash Wii U on there.
Yeah. In here, there's a clear winner as far as I'm concerned. I know you're a fan of something like Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but honestly, Soul Calibur 6 takes this for me. There's the character creation options, the maturity level of the game. It's pretty sweet.
It's to me, Soul Calibur 6 hasn't been out long enough to take the spot because you have these neat features, yeah, and that's great. But I mean,
okay, but so Street Fighter 5 is too old and Soul Calibur 6 is too new. How does that?
Well, I mean, I understand 6 being on here more than I understand 5 being Street Fighter V being on here. I understand that more. Street Fighter V was probably on the list last year. So Soul Calibur 6, it deserves to be on the list. I think it's too new for me to say it's going to win. Like, we've not really seen a major tournament with with Soul Calibur 6 yet because it just came out like a month and a half ago.
So what are you picking here? What's your choice?
I'm picking Dragon Ball, and it's not just because I like Dragon Ball. It's not just because I like Dragon Ball. It's a legitimately good game, but like it beat out. It was the top watched game at Evo. It beat out all the other games in terms of viewership on Twitch at EVO. Like, that doesn't just have, like, who beats Street Fighter at EVO or Soul Calibur at EVO or Marvel vs. Capcom at EVO? Nobody does that. Dragon Ball Z is a brand new game. Like, Dragon Ball has its roots and it has previous fighter games, but this is a brand new take on the Dragon Ball fighter, and it beat out all the others in terms of viewership, and it wasn't even a main card title.
Yeah.
So it's for me, it wins. This, for me,
it's all good. It's a good choice. All right, so this next category is the best role-playing game. For the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. This list includes Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age, Monster Hunter World, which, by the way, that fits a lot more in this category than the other, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, Octopath Traveler, and Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. What do you think?
I feel like Octopath kind of fell flat. It was a beautiful game. Absolutely beautiful, and it was a joy to play, but the story was just, they just didn't tie it together well enough for me.
It felt like when I started playing it, it just was going to take forever.
Pillars of Eternity 2 is supposed to be out on Switch eventually, but I watched some gameplay of it. It looks really good. I've seen a bit of gameplay of Noni Kuni 2.
Mm-hmm.
Monster Hunter is a really overwhelming game. Like, it feels, it's like I compare it a lot to Dark Souls, the way it looks and plays.
Sure.
It's very, very Dark Souls. It might not be as hard as Dark
Souls.
No,
just environmental. Yeah.
But yeah,
but
it's very
this
Dark
category
Soulish.
More than it fits the other one.
It does.
So
it definitely does. Dragon Quest is just, it's classic.
It's Dragon
and
Quest.
Dragon Quest 11 was, my vote is probably Dragon Quest, just because of it's more in line with what I enjoy in my RPGs. All of these are good in their own way. Octopath surprisingly being the least appealing to me at this point.
You know, Octopath brought something, at least with, you know, the way that it had its take on the visuals. That part was true, but this is the RPG category, right? The story is really the biggest driver for these kind of games.
Yeah, and Octopath just didn't have it for me.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little bit shocked that Torna didn't make it to the list, because I saw what people were saying about Torna, and everybody that I saw was like, wow, this is better than the original game. And then on top of it, they were like, the amount of time it takes to play it was perfect. Everybody said it's a great game, and here we are, it's not even on the list, and yet somehow Pillars of Eternity 2 is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see what else is missing from this list is a game that just came out, and that's Pokemon.
I don't know that would make it into this list.
I feel like it would. I feel like it would, because it's not your technical RPG, but it does have customization and progression, because I mean, you're not changing armor sets, but you're learning different skills and you progress by leveling. So it is
maybe next year,
technically in our turn-based combat, maybe.
I don't know.
Of course, by this time next year, we should have the next core game in the Pokemon series.
Well, maybe Let's Go just gets passed over altogether. Who knows?
And then the question would be, though, if they were to give Let's Go a category, would they pick one or the other, both, or would they have them share? I think they probably have them
share. Yeah, because essentially it's the same game. I mean, really. Next category up is Best Action/Adventure Game. This is for the Best Action-Adventure Game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. And we got Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is an interesting category. This
category may as well just be two games.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Like none of the nominees, with maybe the exception of Assassin's Creed, are terrible. Some people, it's weird. I feel like the Assassin's Creed game is polarizing, because I have seen some people go, man, no, I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. And then most people are like, not so much.
Well, Odyssey got a lot of people enjoyed Odyssey. I mean, if we were going back a couple of iterations, then yeah, but Odyssey got got some good play. But and God of War is great, hands
God
down.
of War
Like,
is
I love God of
yeah.
War.
I mean, that's but and I'll say Shadow of the Tomb Raider is, again, another top-notch Tomb Raider from IDOS, but it's all of those pale in comparison to Spider-Man and RDR2. And this just comes down to those two games.
And it's really hard to call it because RDR2 has its flaws, but that game is just so in-depth. Like, I just don't even know. Spider-Man is finally a good Spider-Man game. Like, everybody is raving about the Spider-Man game.
Yeah, but I know a number of people that played both of those that would come back and talk to me about it. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, this is a coin flip. I think the only thing that has the advantage here with RDR2 is that it's newer, so it's fresher in people's minds as voting is happening.
Or the fact that we've had so many terrible Spider-Man games and we finally got a good one that could make people lean towards maybe we're doing something right now with Spider-Man.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's definitely a coin flip. My vote was going to be RDR2 just because of how much I love. I don't feel like Western games. They don't come along very often.
No, not anymore.
Red Dead Redemption does it so well.
Yeah, I watched this great video where they basically took 4 NPCs and just followed them all day long. They would spend an entire day in that NPC's world just watching what the NPC did. They followed them from when they woke up in the morning all the way through when they went to sleep at night. And you could see the depth of development that went into every single NPC. Most games, an NPC does like one of two things. Either they are standing in the same place the entire time for the whole game, or they're on like a loop of some sort, right? They're walking some sort of pattern where they literally just like walk in whatever pattern, and then if you stop them, they might say something, and then they'll go through their pattern. There's been a few games that have added to that, right? Like Skyrim had a little bit of extra where they had a home. They might have gone to their home and gone to sleep or whatever. But for the most part, it's kind of the same. RDR2 takes all of that to like the next level, and they'll have a myriad of things they have to do throughout their day, every day. And there can be small variations in what that is and how they go about it. But literally, you're just kind of watching a pretty well-developed character go about their business that day. They might work in, building one of the houses. They might be working on one of the farms. They might be whatever it is. But you can actually follow that day and how it changes throughout the day and what they do at night, what they do at lunch break, what they do in the morning, that kind of thing. And it's really amazing how well they develop that in that game. I would probably give my vote to RDR2 as well. Next category up is Best Action Game. This is for the best game in the action genre focused on combat. We've got COD Black Ops 4, we got Dead Cells, we got Destiny 2, we got Far Cry 5, and Mega Man 11. I know what my pick is, but I'll let you talk.
Yeah. I don't feel like Call of Duty needs to be on this list. It is an action game, but it's not. Its focus. It's a combat action game, but its focus is multiplayer more than combat. Mm-hmm. Honestly, like it's a multiplayer game that centers around combat, but at its core, it's a multiplayer game.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Destiny 2 just needs to stop being put on lists. Far Cry 5, I can get behind that. I like the Far Cry series. Mega Man 11. Nah.
Well, okay, Mega Man 11.
Mega Man has its fans. Mega Man 11 returned to classic Mega Man roots, minus the stall jumping when you're going into bosses. But the game itself, like it's not. Only one of these is really fresh. Like all of these are like tried and true.
Oh yeah.
In fact, only one of these is not a sequel.
Yes.
So
Dead Cells.
And it's Dead Cells. Yeah, Dead Cells is the only one that brought something new to the table. Like Far Cry 5 is a great story. It's a great narrative.
But it's a far cry from something new.
I wasn't going to say that because that's lame. But the Far Cry is established. Like Far Cry 2 expanded on Far Cry 1, Far Cry 3 expanded on Far Cry 2.
They just keep doing the same thing over and over, essentially.
And they add little bits and pieces here and there. Mega Man 11 is, you really can't revolutionize Mega Man too much because
I will say that Mega Man 11 felt very Mega Man-ish, and it did what it did really well. It's just that I don't know that you can put it in the category of some of these other games.
And
but Dead Cells, let's talk about Dead Cells here for just a moment. Because
you mean let me listen to you talk.
No, because honestly, you played it as well. So Dead Cells is for what it set out to be, is possibly the best game of its kind. And I'm saying that a specific way because it definitely sets out...
Roguelite action platformer?
Yeah, it sets out to be a very specific thing. There's no doubt from the get-go that is exactly it. Like, they are going for that experience. So get used to dying and get used to starting over and over again. But at the same time, like, the gameplay itself is hands down the best platforming and action game I've played in ages. The running, the jumping, the hitting, the bow shooting, all the different weapons, it's fantastic. It always felt fresh every time I went through it. It's not a small feat to do that in this day and age, in my opinion. But I mean, you played it. You went through it.
Yeah, it was one of those rage-inducing games to me. It's just,
but in the best way.
Yeah, like I always wanted to keep going back and play it, but yeah, there's not really much more I can expand on. It is a great game that set out to do something that it pulled off really well.
Yeah,
so
I'm just going to say I hope
my vote in this game.
I hope it's got my vote, and I hope that it wins.
I see Call of Duty probably winning just because of the name, but Dead Cells is the one that should win, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, this one is the best VR AR game. This is for the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. This has got some neat titles here. You got Astrobot Rescue Mission, Beat Saber, Firewall Zero Hour, Moss, and Tetris Effect. So let me just say that I don't own a VR system, but I have checked out gameplay for both Beat Saber and Tetris Effect, and both of those look great. They both look like they would be just a blast.
Beat Saber is very close to convincing me to buy a VR headset.
Right?
That's how much I like the idea of Beat Saber.
Yeah, it just looks cool as hell.
I've got really nothing to add to any of these. Beat Saber is Beat Saber's where it's at for me.
Yeah, Tetris Effect, I'll say, just like it's pretty. It's super pretty, and
well, I mean the screenshot there is beautiful.
Oh yeah. So plus it's Tetris. It's Tetris, man. So you have that. All right, let's move up to the best mobile game, which is interesting to see some of these, but I can tell you who's going to win. Yeah, I know, but let me read them off here because you got best mobile game. This is for the best game playable on a dedicated mobile device. So you got some names that we've seen already: Donut County, Florence, Fortnite, PUBG Mobile, and Reigns Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't really play mobile games, but I can tell you that Fortnite's going to win.
Pretty much.
And the main reason I can tell you that Fortnite's going to win is because, one, it's Fortnite, but two, like, I go to a doctor's office and there's somebody in the waiting room playing Fortnite on their phone. I go to the grocery and there is a kid playing walking Fortnite next to their parent and playing Fortnite on their phone. Like, I can't go anywhere and not see somebody. I went to a restaurant and heard people complaining that they couldn't play Fortnite on their phone because the person next to them was playing Fortnite on their phone. Like, it's just... It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. It is everywhere, and you're right. It's probably going to take it. So, which is a shame because I'm sure that these other games, at least some of them, are fantastic. But it's Fortnite.
And I'm also a big Game of Thrones fan, so I might actually look into Reigns.
Well, you know,
we're
looking at getting Reigns is coming to the Switch. So, like, not the Game of Thrones pack, but Reigns in general. There's like, what, 2 other ones from Reigns that are coming? So that's hitting the Switch. Okay, so the next one is going to be a real interesting category. We got the best independent game. So this is for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. And wow, this list. So we've got Celeste, Dead Cells, Into the Breach, Return of the Obra Dinn, and The Messenger. Wow. All of these are candidates for great. I mean, they're just amazing all around. I don't even know, man. I don't know what to say on this category.
I feel like Celeste needs to be disqualified from this one, and the reason why is because it shows up again later in the category list, and I feel like because of where it is later, it shouldn't be on this list because it's kind of unfair.
Yeah, but I could also say that Dead Cells should be on that list as well, and is not. So, you know, that's.
No, I mean, there's games on that list that I don't like. I feel we'll go over that when we get there. But and on top of that, like, what if Celeste were to win that category and not this one? That would mean that Celeste shouldn't have won that category, right? Because whichever wins this one beat it.
Right.
So I don't.
I know it puts a quandary up for you, but let's just evaluate that as is.
You know what? Return to Obra Dinn. There's my. Let's go. I'll just put that one down. Let's go.
No. Really, in all honesty, to me it comes down to Celeste and Dead Cells, and everybody loves both of those games. I mean, they're both amazing. It's almost a real shame for Dead Cells that Celeste is in this list, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I feel like Celeste is probably going to win.
Yeah.
And Celeste is I mean, it's a very solid platformer. So, I mean, it's definitely needs its recognition. But, I mean,
well,
to me, it's between Celeste and Messenger. Like, I prefer Messenger to Dead Cells just because the Messenger is more the type of game I enjoy. Dead Cells was revolutionary in what it did, but
you're now dead to me. So that's okay.
No, I mean, it's not.
No, the reality is that this category is stacked with talent, just for what it is, being an independent game. And serious congratulations to everybody on this list. This is a hell of a list. So the next one's interesting. Games for Impact category. It's for a thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message. I don't even know if I want to talk about the games in this list so much as I do the category in general.
Life is Strange 2 would probably be my pick. We'll just go ahead and get that out of the way. That'd probably be my pick, just because it's the only one I really know a whole lot about. I know a lot about Celeste, but I don't. When I think about Games for Impact and
that doesn't come to mind.
The
right?
point of this category, that doesn't come to mind.
But what is this category really about? I mean, why do we have to have a pro-social meaning game? What is that? I don't even know why this category exists, is really what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I don't know it either. And there's plenty of other games that could be on here.
Right.
If they,
I don't know.
Like, we just got done playing a game that should be on this list, in my opinion.
Oh, probably. It's pretty amazing, but we'll talk about that at some point. Next one up is Best Performance. So this is awarded to an individual for voice acting, motion, and/or performance capture. So this is always kind of a tough one, a category like this, because you really have to know each performance to make a judgment here. And I feel like a lot of people vote based on just whatever their favorite game is. Yeah. So going through this here, Brian Deckhart as Connor from Detroit Become Human, Christopher Judge as Kratos, God of War, Melisantha Mahut as Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Roger Clark as Arthur Morgan from RDR2, and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker from Marvel's Spider-Man. I will say a lot of people said that Spider-Man, the performance for Spider-Man, was pretty awesome.
My choices between that is going to be Spider-Man or Detroit Become Human, and I'm not even like the biggest fan of Detroit Become Human. It's just the like those games, like Heavy Rain. Is from the same people with Heavy Rain. Like those games, that's what they focus on is
performance and
mocap
story
and performance. Yeah.
This is probably one of the toughest categories to pick too, because I would imagine in each of their own way, every single one of these performances really shines. So that just makes this that much more difficult. And that's a tough call. Just all around. I don't even know who to pick. I guess I'd default to Yuri for Spider-Man. Moving on up, we got another sponsored category. This is Best Audio Design presented by Dolby, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. This is kind of cool because this really encompasses like all kinds of stuff. You've got COD 4 or COD Black Ops 4, Forza Horizon 4, God of War, Spider-Man, and RDR2. Toss it up. Could be any of these, really?
Yeah, I'd like to. Call of Duty stands out to me in this category simply because war and combat movies really rely on the combat and gun sounds, and Call of Duty is going to have that in spades. But at the same time,
well, Forza,
one of the best. Yeah, that's what I was getting to. One of the best movies to watch in surround sound is Days of Thunder.
Oh yeah, with all the cars.
Car sounds and stuff are so amazing. So Forza, and I guarantee you that Microsoft Studios and Turn 10 and Playground Games, I guarantee you that they put a lot of work into making that game sound as realistic and as beautiful as possible, just because that game, the beauty and realism of that game is a huge focus.
Well, plus you have the backing of Microsoft Studios here with that, and they I would invest,
say that's going to be that's my takeaway. Is one of those two should probably win, and the other games are great, but those are the two. When I think about sound, those are the two that stick out.
Yeah,
to me.
no, I would agree. God of War might get there. I mean, you've got these battle combat sounds from them, and
but you've also got Spider-Man, which has like city sounds, which would be kind of neat to focus on. But
yeah, a lot of ambient stuff would probably happen in that one.
I'm giving it to Black Ops 4 or Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, my head just says Forza could be a real contender for that. All right, another sponsored category. Probably going to have a lot of sponsored categories from here up, but the best.
I think this is the last.
Is it the last one? Well, we're getting close to the top of the list anyway. The best score / music presented by Spotify for outstanding music inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. We got Celeste, we got God of War, Spider-Man, Ni no Kuni 2, Octopath Traveler, and RDR2. Lots of good choices here. A lot of potential.
I haven't really played a whole lot into some of these games to know how good the score is. I mean, Octopath was a beautiful game, and it seemed like it had some really good, well-timed, well-placed musical scores. But without playing a whole lot of any of these games, my go-to is going to be Red Dead Redemption 2 because of the score from Red Dead Redemption 1. The Red Dead Redemption's music kicked in and played the right song at the right time so much. Like, I felt like I was watching a Western movie half the time when the score would come up, like "Bury Me" on in Old Mexico or whatever that song. When that came on, when you first cross over into Mexico in the first game, oh my God, it was like awe-inspiring.
Yeah, the beauty about this type of thing is you can go one of two ways, right? You can have a soundtrack that is doing what you're saying and just provides that emotional oomph for the game, or if a soundtrack is crafted the right way, it stays out of the way of the game. Like it does another type of job where instead of allowing a game to feel empty, it fills that void without really guiding your emotion and just sort of, is there in a sense of like, I'm going to stay out of the way of the gameplay. I'm going to be appropriate for it, but I'm going to stay out of the way of the gameplay. I'm not here to serve in that respect. I sort of feel like Celeste, for the most part, might be something like that, or even Spider-Man might be something like that, where they're allowing you to do those pieces of the game, to play and experience that, and not necessarily get in the way of that. Whereas something like RDR, when it presents a score like that, is actually there. Its purpose is to augment that feeling that you're going to have. And I think both approaches are appropriate depending upon what you're trying to go for. Mm-hmm. Either way, nice slate of games listed here. Be interesting to see who wins that.
For sure.
Best art direction. This is for outstanding creative and/or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. And to be honest, once again, you just have this slew of games that could, any of these could really grab this. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You've got God of War, Octopath Traveler, Red Dead Redemption 2, Return of the Obra Dinn. I want to jump in on this one and say the one thing that I really think Octopath did well was how they had the lighting and depth of field set up in their game, and I would give this to Octopath because it visually did something to a style of game that hasn't seen an update like that in years and years. There hasn't been something that outstanding.
That was going to be that was going to be my say too. I'd give this Octopath because it says outstanding creative and/or technical achievement. Octopath was not a technical achievement, but it was a very creative, artistic design and animation. Very creative because they took an old style and revitalized it. It stands out. Like the rest of them are definitely great artistic design, but that's the main draw to Octopath for me is the art design.
Just there were scenes in that game that were just picturesque to the point where you could easily make that your background, your wallpaper on your screen without even trying. And it wasn't one or two; it was over and over and over. Moving up to best narrative, this is for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game, and this is where it starts to get real interesting. You get Detroit Become Human, God of War, Life is Strange 2, Spider-Man, and RDR 2. That's a tough choice when it comes down to narrative.
For me, I feel like they all have really great story, but I feel like Detroit Become Human, like it focuses on the narrative.
Doesn't Life is Strange 2 as well? I mean, that would be...
Yeah, Life is Strange 2 does as well, but like Detroit Become Human is just...
the game's kind of built around that. Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, the game is built around that. So that's what I'm going to give it to.
Next category up is Best Game Direction. This is awarded to a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Here we've got a new entrant we haven't seen in any of the previous ones, A Way Out. We also have Detroit Become Human, God of War, Spider-Man, and RDR 2. As we go up the page, you're just going to see lots of familiar names.
Way Out's not even out yet.
Apparently, it's enough. It's enough to be nominated for game direction.
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking of a different game. Because this one is out. It came out in March. So there you go. I stand corrected by Google.
So best game direct. Yeah, by Google, not Phineas.
Well, I mean, yeah.
See,
yeah.
See, this time we'll fix it live.
Yep,
that's right. Best game direction, though. So creative vision and innovation is kind of a different, take on a game, right? You'd sort of have to be able to see the vision that they were trying to express when you look at this kind of category. Oddly enough, I kind of want to give this one to Spider-Man, even though I think Detroit Become Human could take it. But I think what's happening is in the previous category, the best narrative, where you're leaning towards Detroit Become Human being the right one for the narrative, I'm kind of thinking that the thing that Spider-Man stands out at is what they have actually tried to share with everyone is that experience, that feeling of being Spider-Man. right? And that's not an easy thing to achieve, to not just, get the web shooting right and the swinging right, but the idea that you are Spider-Man, that you get to be the superhero and do things the way that Spider-Man would do it. It's clear when you see the gameplay footage and when you kind of watch how he behaves as you control him. They did it. They brought that experience to you, and that's what I've gotten the feedback from the people that have played the game, is that makes you like, you feel like Spider-Man. And they've talked about that. There's been some videos out there talking to the game director, that type of thing. It really, that's what they set out to do. So for me, that's my pick, Spider-Man.
I can't really argue with that. The only game that Red Dead it ticks so many boxes for me, but God of War did a change of pace with this game, though, leaning towards Norse mythology. So that is a bit of a direction change for them. But as far as like innovation and in terms of what they were trying to bring to the table, Spider-Man definitely stands out.
It really, man, there's just something about that. I think they've been able to tap into that feeling so well that's what the draw was for people, right? The game looked good and all that, but I think everybody was like, man, I want to play this because I get to be Spider-Man. Anyway, next category is Best Ongoing Game. So this is awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. And again, you're going to see some familiar names and then a couple of not so familiar names for awards this time, and we'll get to that. We got Destiny 2, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, Overwatch. What's that? Yeah, hello.
Games. Games.
Hello, game. Overwatch and Rainbow Six Siege, which is kind of an interesting choice. I'm kind of hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. I'm not saying this should win, but I actually agree with the idea that No Man's Sky is on the list, and I'll tell you why. When the game came out, it was nowhere near what it is now. All the promises that were made were not in the game at all. And they have spent every waking moment since release backfilling on their promises. Now, that doesn't excuse the fact that they released a game that had nearly nothing they said that it would. That was terrible and abysmal, and it should never have happened that way. However, I do kind of commend them for the effort after the fact, that especially in the wake of what people were saying. Should it win this? Probably not. But, kudos for them actually trying.
I can get behind that, I guess. I will also go back to my previous statement of Destiny should not be on any lists. Rainbow Six Siege kind of caught me off. I would actually prefer to see The Division on here, which is another game that didn't deliver at first or staggered when it was delivering, that has sort of turned around and recaptured the fan base that they originally had. I feel like it kind of needs a spot on here.
Although Fortnite did have Thanos.
Oh, shut up.
I know.
Close it down. Fortnite wins every category, even the indies.
To be honest, that's feeling like the direction some of this is going.
No, I'm out of the choices that we've got. I understand what you're saying about No Man's Sky. Is it too little, too late? Because the game's been out for a couple of years.
Yeah, no, so, I know, and I'm not saying they should win this. I'm just saying, hey, at least they're trying.
Yeah, I could see that, but I mean, why do they keep putting Fortnite on here? Like you could put in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
I know. It is what it is.
My vote for this it's, I want to say trash heap, but it's not, because for the most part it's good games except for Destiny. My vote for this dumpster fire of a category is going to be Overwatch.
I'll roll with you on that one, and
because they have seasonal events in Overwatch, and they're constantly releasing new characters, new skins. So,
and it doesn't. I'll say from what I can tell, they've done a fairly good job with balance, considering the character additions. It's hard to do that. I mean, anytime you have anything like that has a balance aspect to the game, adding one thing can just skew the whole slew of characters and how they interact. So it's hard to do that. It's difficult. It's a tough task.
Yeah, and it's also the one mainstay game that Blizzard has out right now that isn't getting hated on by somebody.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's haters for it, but not mainstream hate
not
like
in the
what
same
Diablo's
way.
getting,
Yeah,
or
not in the same
Diablo,
way.
Hearthstone, and Warcraft are getting absolutely fried.
Yeah. Well, we are here. We are at the top, the pinnacle, the peak, the top of the list. Game of the year.
The tippy top.
The tippy top. These games have made fat stacks of cash.
Fat stacks of cash.
Game of the year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. And I got to be honest, 3 of the games should be on this list. The others probably not. We got Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We got Celeste, God of War, Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and RDR2.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess. The 3 you think should be on this list are gonna be Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man, and God of War.
No. You got 2 out of 3. You got 2 out of 3.
So instead of God of War, Monster Hunter World? I know you're not thinking Assassin's Creed.
Nope.
You better not be thinking Celeste. Celeste does not need to be on this list.
I'm thinking Celeste, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
I'll tell you why.
Tell me why I'm looking for a new co-host.
I'll tell you why. It's just to piss you off.
Just to piss me off. No, if that was the case, you'd be like, substitute Celeste for Destiny, and I'm all for it.
No, I'm actually talking about games that are on the list, not ones that didn't make the list. No, Celeste actually had this phenomenon with regards to streaming, which is a big deal right now. You know, there was a point in time when if you were to tune to Twitch, where like half of the freaking streams on there were Celeste. And that doesn't happen that often with a game of that type, which is why I was kind of interested in that. I think that speaks a lot to it.
I would argue that we've had another game in the past year that did the exact same thing.
But for a different reason.
No.
For a different reason.
No.
You're talking Dead Cells, right?
No.
What game
I'm
are you
talking Cuphead. Cuphead was all over Twitch for the exact same reason. It was
probably true.
It was a beautiful game that was hard, and it used classic art and a platformer. It's the exact same reason.
Except for the fact that it's locked into literally 2 platforms.
But
I think that limits the audience.
That is true, but look at God of War. That's 1.
That's true. That's also true. Well,
look at Spider-Man. That's also 1.
Yeah, so is Spider-Man. No, it's a tough call. I don't know that Celeste is going to win because, frankly, I think the battle here is between Spider-Man and RDR2. That's
my guess.
That's knockdown drag out right there between those 2, right? How in the world do you say that either of those truly is better than the other? I don't know that you can.
I will say Spider-Man is going to edge out RDR2, and the reason why is because Spider-Man was a console mover.
This
and
is
RDR2 you could play on different consoles, but a lot of people weren't going out and buying a console just to play it. There were a lot of people who went out and buy, and they even made a Spider-Man specific PS4.
Beautiful PS4 Pro with the Spider logo.
So Spider-Man was a console seller. RDR2, if RDR2 had come out on a new platform that hadn't been adopted a whole lot yet, then maybe it would sell consoles, but Spider-Man did.
Well, there's one thing we can agree on is it is between these 2 games.
Yes,
there's
100%.
no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. So the battle is on. The battle is on. I think the freshness of RDR2 also has something to say in that vote. I don't know which direction it says it, but I know that it has something to say about it. Man, hell of a year to have a matchup like that. I'll just put it that way. Could you imagine, being involved in the creation of either of those games, having yourself nominated, and then noticing the other game in the category? Like you see all the others in that, you see all the other nominations, and you're just like, yeah, okay, but that guy over there, that's who I got to go up against, and they know it. They know it. So hell of a choice here. It's not quite the same as the battle we had last year when it was between Mario Odyssey, and Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was an easy battle to say, okay, well, at least we know Nintendo's winning.
Yeah.
And they're getting second place. I mean, that was an easy choice in that particular case.
In first
but
runner-up,
yeah. And I'm not really sure which way this goes. I don't know. Coin flip for me. Coin flip. Could go either way. Is there anything that you're surprised isn't in this Game of the Year category?
In Game of the Year, Super Mario Brothers 2.
Super Mario Brothers 2. Yeah, right?
Yeah. No.
More donkey.
More donkey. Yeah.
More donkey.
He should be the one that announces the winners, just so he can say Super Mario Brothers 2.
That would be great to give him the envelope and he stands on the stage and opens it up, and like there's no game though here that starts with an S, so he can't like tease it like that. So, I guess Spider-Man, you could say Spider-Man. Super Mario Brothers 2. No, I don't know, man. Those two games definitely deserve to battle it out here.
Previously, you had interviewed me.
Yes, I did.
And we included that, much to the chagrin of our listeners.
I heard one or two people enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, I don't know how my mom found out about the podcast, and my grandmother just follows everything I do. So that's not surprising. But now we're going to force feed our listeners some more information about us, whether they want it or not.
Or you talk about people not wanting it.
Well, we'll see how well this goes over. You'll probably get more love than me, but we'll see how this goes. In fact, they'll just listen to your answers. They'll cut out my questions and just listen to your answers because of that
would be ideal.
That smooth Egyptian cotton voice that you got. That's from Belly Drum.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go ahead and jump into it, and I've got about 13 questions here, but some of them play into others, and I may cut some out as we go, just because you may answer them in other answers. So we'll start with this. We'll get some background. So tell our listeners about your first memory of video gaming, whether it's like your own personal system, or maybe you went to a local store and played with a kiosk or saw a display. Like, what was your first memory?
It's a good question.
That's why I asked it.
When I was... I'm sure it is. When I was probably about 4, I was on a family trip. I went to go visit some family that I believe at the time, now mind you, I was 4, so I don't remember this 100%, but I think they were living in New Mexico at the time. Had an uncle, and they had a house in New Mexico, and we were on this road trip. We spent some time there, and they had a Magnavox Odyssey 2. And I remember we all kind of curled around their small television to play this video game system. And they had a handful of games there. Had like Casey Munchkin and my favorite, Pickaxe Pete, and a few other ones. I think Casey's Crazy Chase or something like that. One of these... There was just a handful of cartridges there, but I remember everybody just having such a blast playing these games. And when we got back home, my parents actually ran out and got one. They went out and bought the Odyssey 2 and brought it home. And so we had that hooked up to the TV for quite a while, for probably another couple of years on the main TV. And then eventually that kind of became my own system at that point. I was the only one that would play it after the first few months anyways. So my earliest memory of gaming was playing that. And that was, if you don't know the Odyssey 2, it's kind of like an Atari 2600, but the system had like a keyboard built in. You could even get like a basic cartridge and code basic stuff. Unfortunately, there was no like permanent storage, so if you did any of that, it would just be wiped away the moment you turned off that system. But it had some really quirky games that were kind of neat. Like you could take I want to say it was almost like a cellophane type overlay and stick it on your TV with static, and it would make portions of your screen have like these different colors. The system did support color, but it had these interesting overlays. They had some combination board games that were video game, board games, really different. But Pickaxe Pete was always the go-to, and it was just this repetitive game that you would jump up and hit these boulders and dodge boulders, and every once in a while you'd pick up a pickaxe and you'd be able to chop them up, and then you'd go into a door, and whatever the color of the door was would be the color of the next level, and it would redraw the level with the gaps and stuff. And every once in a while you get super unlucky and you jump in the door when it turned black, and then you couldn't see where the level was on the next one, and you could only rely on like where your character was to jump and get into elevator or ladders and whatnot. So yeah, it doesn't sound like it's super fun now, and looking back, it's terribly simple of a game, but I looked at it fondly back then.
What was your favorite game back then? No, we've established that as Pickaxe Pete. Okay, so have you collected for other systems in the past, or is Switch the first one that you pursued this much?
That's a complicated answer.
I'm a complicated kind of guy.
This interview is about me, though, not you.
Yeah, that's why I'm not answering the question for you.
If you look at my youth, I mean, I certainly collected a lot of different systems and games back then, but obviously being a youth, you don't have the income that you do as an adult, so you don't get to collect the same way that you do now. I have had a number of different types of collections with regards to video games. At one point, I was literally just trying to collect every system, and I had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40 different systems. Ooh. Yeah, a lot of different systems. Some of the more obscure, I mean, everybody knows that the Virtual Boy exists, so that's not really obscure. I did own a fully operational and fully complete, including the iFoam piece, Virtual Boy.
I still do.
Yeah, I know you do. You live on Virtual Boy. Reminder, this is about me, not you.
I'm not going off on a tangent. I was just pointing out. Keep going.
I had a Vectrex, which was great, an actual vector monitor. I had a Wonder Swan, not the I also had a Wonder Swan color, but the original Wonder Swan. Let's see, an Atari 400. I also had an Atari 800. Those are like computers more so than consoles, but they are pretty much, in console form, much like the Odyssey 2. It had a keyboard for those as well. I got really into trying to like hunt down all the different consoles. I mean, all the mainstream ones I had, of course, your Xboxes, your PlayStations, all the Nintendo. There's not been a single generation of Nintendo console that I didn't own at some point.
So it was more console than game collection.
It was more console than game collection. Yeah. I mean, I still, of course, had games for all. I had like discs for my 3DO. I had hue cards from my TurboGrafx 16, that kind of thing. But the game collection wasn't as established as the console piece of it, just because I felt like I was really wanting to start off with all that hardware. But at some point, I had this idea in my head that I wanted to build an arcade system. So I took my investment of that and sold it to help fund the arcade cabinet that I built. So
awesome. So did you have the N-Gage?
I did. I had an N-Gage.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. What a interesting piece of hardware.
So what made you decide the Switch was something you wanted to pursue?
The Switch, when the video was released and then they kind of showed what it could do, there was something in it that sparked a renaissance for me. It felt like Nintendo was going to get back on their game in some form here. I didn't see like Wii U 2.0 when I saw it. I saw like this was new, this was different in some key ways. They weren't completely cheapening out on their approach. They were reinvesting in themselves to do this. And then after the first few games, because honestly, day one, I didn't run out and buy everything on day one. The first day everything came out, I got a system, I got like 2 or 3 games, and then it was a little bit before I decided I was going to pick up the rest. But it was what those games were and how well the system worked that convinced me to do that. So that's what I did.
Is there a system that you always wanted but you never got?
I have to think really hard about that. Yes, but it's not your traditional system. Laseractive actually made a system that had modules you could add to it for different game functionality. So you would buy this base unit, Laseractive Laserdisc player, and I think by default I want to say it came with like the Genesis module, so that you could throw a Genesis cartridge in and play Genesis games off of there. And it also, I want to say it supported the Sega CD games through that module. But you could also buy a TurboGrafx 16 module for it, and you could play Turbo CD games on that system. And I think there was even one other module for it. I'm struggling to remember which one it was, but I never got my hands on a Laseractive. The costs were through the roof, even when I was looking at this like 15 plus years ago. And the amount of systems that were still actually functional for the Laseractive were really low.
I never even thought about Laseractive myself. Was there a title that came out on the Switch that was surprisingly good to you? Like you expected it to be bad and it turned out to be good?
Oh, wow. That's a broad spectrum of games for me to try to figure out here.
I mean, is there one that when you saw it announced, you're like, that's going to be horrible, and then when you finally got it and played it, you're like, you know what?
Yeah. Okay. No.
Expectations.
I can give you my answer to that. It took a bit for me to zero in on what that might be, but when you reword it that way, I can tell you that it was probably ARMS. I felt like ARMS was, when I first saw it, was one of the games that I was being a bit dismissive about. I thought, that doesn't look very good. It looks pretty shallow. There was a lack of depth to what I saw in the game. But my son and I actually play quite a bit of ARMS, and he got me to play it more than I probably would have. He and I spent quite a bit of time on it, and I've learned through that time the depth that game actually has, and it's surprising. It's better than you might imagine. Plus, they added characters, they added badges, they added other additional fists for the game.
All right, and coming off of that, what was the biggest disappointment? The game that you looked at and you're like, this is going to be great, and then you played it and you're like, and the answer can't be Mario Tennis Aces. Well, it can be, but
it could be, but it's not. Gosh, that's tough. I'm trying to think through things that are not necessarily top of mind, but the stuff that I'm thinking of is still stuff that's top of mind. Let me look at my collection here.
Yeah, I had to do that. When you were interviewing me, I had to look at my collection.
I'm struggling to come up with something that really did that to me. I think that the one that keeps coming back to top of mind for me is Octopath Traveler. Octopath, visually stunning. Love what they did there. Some of the ideas that I felt that they were trying to bring to the game were great. I love the idea of the 8 different storylines potentially intertwining themselves, but I think the problem is that they never really matched the potential. And then at the same time, there was a lot more talking in the game than there probably should have been. Plus, the game itself was just dragging. It was taking a really long time. So I, at some point, decided I was going to step away from it because I didn't feel that the value proposition on that game was going to meet my expectations. And I think that was disappointing. So.
Yeah, there was a big build up for that, and yeah, the question wasn't what game was bad. You expected to be good. It was which one was a disappointment. So yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, it just didn't fill the. It
was such a big build up, and then they just didn't deliver.
Didn't fulfill that. Yeah.
All right. So what game would you like to see come to the Switch? And this is gonna be a game that's already out on other platforms, or a game that you just want to see done and brought to the Switch? Yeah.
Oddly enough, even though I am not I'm not a big sports game nut, I really would like to see Madden come back to the Switch, come back to Nintendo. Yeah, Madden is a franchise that left Nintendo a long time ago. It started on Nintendo, but it needs to come back. It needs to come home.
Depending on who you ask.
Well, it did. I mean, I believe the Super Nintendo version was the first one prior to Genesis. So
I was just making a little jab at somebody we know.
Yeah, well, they don't know shit. So yeah, but yeah, I'd love to see Madden come back and really bring the true Madden experience to the platform.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I get behind that 100%. I mean, Mutant League Football scratched an itch, but the itch is still there. It's not gone yet. All right, now transitioning from that, what already announced game are you looking forward to the most?
Ooh, you're capturing a very specific moment in time by asking that. Honestly,
we're going to get back into other questions pretty soon. So
yeah, this seems so cliche in a sense, but Smash. And the reason for that is I have this hope in my mind that it sort of recaptures what Melee was, but it's a cautious optimism.
I get that. Now back to some questions that aren't like future topic or future sense. We're gonna get back into the previous stuff, the past stuff that you can probably recall a whole lot easier. What is the prized piece of your collection?
Well, considering I sort of had cleaned the slate before I went to the Switch. Right now, I'm sitting on just a Switch collection and my arcade and my PC, that type of thing. So you're really narrowing my choice by asking a question like that by default.
Let's do it this way. What is your prized piece of your Switch collection? And then what is your prized piece across all collectibles that you have? Because I know that you have a wide variety of like Lego play sets, and you have helmets from cartoons and stuff.
Yes.
So what's the prize Switch item?
Okay,
whether it's a game or not, and then a total of your other collections.
Okay, right now for the Switch, I'm looking through it, just trying to formulate that answer because that's a tough one. I did have a little bit of a struggle just due to what happened when I ordered the game. So I'm going to say that the Bayonetta 1 that was a part of the Japanese collector's edition may be the prized Switch item. And it's not just because of that. I had to struggle a little bit to get that compared to some folks. I was not awake when it went up for sale. I missed the initial run. I purchased the game from an individual, and then as we got a little bit closer to when I should have expected it, it had not shipped. And so I sent a message asking, hey, when do you expect this to go out? At which point my order was canceled without my request. So I had to turn around and spend a lot more money on a new purchase of it. And then eventually that one arrived. And I had to do that in such a fashion that I had to send it to a mid-shipper in Japan, who then sent it over here, forwarded it over here. So it was kind of like a journey just to get that, when I really, really, really was hoping just to make the initial purchase right off of Amazon Japan and have it sent over. But that didn't happen. So I fought a little bit for that one, and I got it. So from the Switch collection right now, that would probably be the thing. Now, as far as just overall collectibles, yeah, you sort of alluded to it earlier, and it's definitely one of my prized possessions. I'm a big fan of Transformers. Used to have an absolutely massive Transformers collection spanning from the original 84 Transformers all the way up through like the early 20 teens. And really, I mean, I had thousands of Transformers at one point. Somewhere around here, I have pictures of that collection. I think I've even posted them a couple of times in the distant past. Out of that collection, I sold a majority of what I have. I still have a huge collection of Optimus Primes, probably like a couple of hundred Optimus Prime pieces already, but most of that stuff is packed away, except for a couple, and one of those is a helmet from the original Michael Bay movie. I'm not a big fan of Michael Bay, but the helmet of Optimus Prime with Peter Cullen's voice in it, signed by Peter Cullen, the actual voice of Optimus Prime, not just from that movie. He was the original voice of the 1984 animated Optimus Prime. And he's kind of one of my voice acting idols. I really, really enjoyed that cartoon growing up, and just, listening and watching, and the fact that they brought him back to do that voice when they did the movies was huge for me. And I got a chance to meet him. So to me, that's probably my prized collection item.
And then what is the grail that you haven't gotten yet?
Ooh, wow, that's.
I guess, is there something that you've actively been watching for to show up on a sale site, or something that you are waiting to come down in price?
I'll keep this Switch related, because even though I'm not collecting the system, the variant systems or Joy-Cons,
mm-hmm.
I absolutely would like write a fat check for the Labo Switch with the tan on it.
Oh, the cardboard style, yeah.
Yes, that there's something about the look of that. It's pretty striking. It's a pretty awesome looking device.
I was expecting you to say something like the Famicom Joy-Cons that are coming out next month.
I think those are a lot more achievable than...
Oh, because there was a very limited number of the Joy-Con one. Yeah,
I'm sure there will be, but I think that will be much more achievable to get, much more obtainable than the Labo Switch.
Yeah, I get you. All right, so I have one final question and then like a scenario type question. So the final question for you is what advice would you give to new collectors?
New collectors. Ooh. So somebody coming into Switch in general, or like what?
Sure. We'll do Switch specific.
All right. Well, first off, welcome to the club. The one thing that I've tried to instill in the Discord and the subreddit is, whether you have 10 or 100 games, it doesn't matter. I think that collecting is something all of us can enjoy, and each of us set our own parameters. I would not necessarily recommend doing what I'm doing to just anybody. You have to be both willing and able to do it. A lot of people are willing. That part is pretty easy to get through. It's the able. And I recommend that you make sure that your bills are paid first and your family is fed before you buy games. So that those pieces are paramount. You need to take care of business before you take care of pleasure, kind of thing. I am fortunate enough to have a decent job and have my bills paid and have my family fed before I have a chance to do this. But that being said, set parameters that really work for you. If you don't want to play crappy games, if you don't want to have those crappy games on your shelf, don't buy them. If that's not what's in your heart, if you just want a certain kind of game, do that. Just follow your heart on that. That's the best kind of advice for a new collector. Nobody is going to pressure you into anything. I mean, there's standard fun peer pressure that we have. Like everybody in our Discord must buy Troll and I, but that's just fun. We're just having fun with a memed game. Do what's right for you. follow your heart on collecting. And when you do that, if you are true to yourself, true to your heart on that, you will not be disappointed. There's nothing at that point that can disappoint you about your collection.
Extreme lack of games on the Switch.
There are no games on the Switch.
None. All right, so my final one here is, okay, scenario, new gamer, parents are buying a Switch for Christmas. What one game is a must-own title? So this is a new gamer, so it's not necessarily the best game on the system. It's just one that a new gamer has to play.
How old is this gamer?
We're going to say early to mid-teens.
Odyssey. Mario Odyssey. It's a pretty easy choice. Mario Odyssey provides the all-around game experience at an extremely high level of polish. If you want to just run through the game top to bottom quickly and just beat the game, you can do that fast. You don't have to have like the skills, the mad skills. But if you want to expand upon that and like 100% the game, it can stretch out that amount of time. So, do your kids a favor, go out and buy them the Odyssey bundle if you can find it. Don't know if you can find it anymore, but if you can,
Joy-Cons are so nice.
You could do that. They get the red Joy-Cons, and then they get the game with the system, and then you're set. You're good to go.
Yeah. What game would you say that every adult should try?
Vroom in the Night Sky. No.
Scene.
Yeah. See, if you ask for adults tend to like. There are different people like different things, different genres, different stuff. So it's really hard to narrow.
All right. So thank you for the interview, and hopefully our listeners are more abreast as to your collecting history and your thoughts on it going forward, and the mindset you have in the moment. And I'm sure that they will enjoy listening to that and learning about you.
So what are you playing? We got to cover at least what you're playing right now. Tell me what you got in your Switch, what you're doing right now.
Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, because Best Buy sucks.
Why does Best Buy suck?
They split my order and didn't ship me my Pokeball Plus edition of Pikachu.
Did you order them at the same time?
Yes, June 12th I ordered them together. And they split my order and shipped them two different ways, two different orders.
Did you ask them nicely?
Very much so. I contacted them. They said, call back later. Called back later. They're like, well, we'll ship you a new one. It'll be here in a couple weeks. And I'm like, well, I mean, I wanted release day shipping. They're like, well, you can pay more for 1 or 2 day shipping if you'd like. And
so wait a minute here. So you ordered for release day shipping, and when they had a problem getting it to you, they told you that you could just pay more to get it late.
Yes, pretty much. They ended up waiving it. They ended up waiving it, and they said they would get it to me next day. But next day to them is actually 4 days, because what they meant was they would ship it on Monday. It would get here Tuesday as opposed to Friday and get here on Saturday. So I've been playing Let's Go Eevee. It's just a nostalgia trip for me. It reminds me of good old days. There's not really much to say about it. Pretty much everybody knows about Pokemon. So,
is there anything surprising about the game to you so far?
Some of the subtle changes they made, leveling up when you capture Pokemon, not having to battle Pokemon to get them down to low health before you try to capture them. That sort of thing. That was kind of a surprise to me, but I mean, I like it. It's a good system. Makes leveling a whole lot easier. Your entire party levels or gets a little bit of experience when you battle now and capture. So you're not necessarily just leveling 1 or 2 at a time. You're leveling the whole team. You know, the others are slower. You're still leveling the whole team, which is kind of nice.
Well, I am not a Pokemon fan, so I'm not playing that game.
Nope.
But I am playing a few other games. I did finish Dead Cells. And by finish, I got a boss cell, and then I was done. And then I made a mistake after that. I put Flint Hook in. And it's not, I didn't make a mistake in the sense that Flint Hook is a bad game. Flint Hook is a great game. But it is very much like Dead Cells. It's a roguelite. It's, jump around platform stuff. You got some different dynamics within the game. But ultimately, after just a little bit of playing, I felt like I was still playing Dead Cells, and I needed a break because I love Dead Cells, but I needed to just not play a game where I was dying over and over and over again. So I switched it up and I dropped Undertale into my Switch because I have not played it. I've seen plenty of footage. I'm familiar with the fan base and all that stuff, but I just hadn't played it yet. I think I'm about halfway through, but I had to stop because not only do we had our own stuff that we're working on, I've had other tasks, other things in my life that was going on. And then I was asked to kind of check out another game, and it's amazing. Forgotten Anne. And you also have been playing this, and Forgotten Anne is like surprisingly good, right?
Yeah. I played it from start to completion in one sitting, about 6.5 hours roughly. I loved it. It was a really, really good, caught me by surprise. Like, it looked good when I looked at screenshots, but as I started playing it, I really enjoyed the game enough that I sat through the entirety of the game in one go.
Yeah, I didn't sit through it top to bottom because I was doing other things while I was playing the game, so I couldn't like pay attention to it in one stretch the same way that you did, but I would say overall I probably put about the same amount of time into it of actually playing the game. It's not terribly long. It's not too short. If it was too much longer, I'd say it might actually be too long for the type of game that it is. The style, the visual style, I told you this, and you were like, yes, that's exactly, I was going to say the same thing kind of thing. It feels like you're playing a Miyazaki movie as a game.
Yes, I picked that feel up immediately as well.
It's so weird how well they nail that, right? I mean, the animation style is reminiscent of it. The movement, the painted backgrounds, even the story and the characters sort of feel like they might come out of that world. If right now this is not a physical game, so, and I know we've got a lot of collectors that are the ones listening to our podcast, but maybe drop a dime on this in the eShop and pick up Forgotten Anne. And it's misspelled purposefully. It's not EN at the end of Forgotten. It's ON when you go to spell it and you look for it. Just kind of caught me off guard. It looked interesting, but once you start playing it, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I would definitely give my vote of confidence to that game. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I think that goes into the category of sleeper hits that I have. The things like Yoku's Island Express or Battle Chasers, that type of thing. The games that like I have a little hype for because it looks really interesting, but then when you played it, it's surprisingly good. It's actually like next level good.
Well, it looks like we're out of content and out of time.
Join us next time for an in-depth look at why Cyrix is obsessed with Rattata. This is Sol.
And I'm not obsessed with Rattata.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.